Chapter 50-32. Die. Lin Ling activated his soul force and killed the little beast. Then, he felt a rich soul force from the little beast. Lin Ling was overjoyed. This soul force was much stronger than the souls of the dead. He immediately swallowed it. Then, he killed all the little beasts on the ground and recovered his soul force. After a long time, most of the little beasts on the ground were dead. There were only a few dozen left. Lin Ling pondered for a moment. He took the little beasts that were not dead and went to the second floor. After killing them, he threw them out. Wang wang wang. The dead little beasts fell to the ground and immediately attracted more little beasts. The sky in front of him was filled with them. It was terrifying. In the blink of an eye, the fort was surrounded again. Although they did not dare to approach, they flew around the fort, unwilling to leave. Attract some more. Lin Ling's eyes flashed. After swallowing a large number of little beast souls, his soul force had recovered a bit. If he attracted some more, his soul force would recover again. Thinking of this, he told Guangchengzi his idea and got Guangchengzi's approval. Then, he rushed out of the fort and attracted a large number of little beasts. After they crawled all over his body, he rushed back into the fort. This time the time he rushed out was very short. But it still caused Lin Ling's soul force to suffer a great loss. However, he believed that after swallowing the little beast's souls, it would be a win-win situation. Sure enough, after Lin Ling swallowed all the little beasts, his soul force recovered to 70%. Then, he rushed out again to attract more little beasts. Gradually, his soul force recovered to 80%. Time quietly passed. Relying on the continuous swallowing of little beasts, Lin Ling's soul force recovered to 90%, 100%. All of his soul force recovered to its original state. His current strength was almost comparable to his past strength. It was just that the number of times he could use soul force was limited. However, Lin Ling did not leave. Instead, he continued to devour souls and increase his strength. Now, he did not have a physical body. His only method was soul force. The greater the increase in soul force, the higher the chance of survival. 1 year passed, 2 years passed, 3 years passed, a full 10 years. Lin Ling continued to devour the little beasts. His soul was more than twice as strong as before. The little beasts that he devoured were simply unfathomable. But what surprised Lin Ling was that these little beasts seemed to be endless. Even after killing so many, their numbers still didn't decrease. As for Lin Ling's soul power, it had gone from 1 million steps to 2 million steps. With his soul force greatly improved, Lin Ling's strength increased by leaps and bounds. Using his Tao regression heavenly position, he could actually sense the Lin Ling universe. Luckily, the Lin Ling universe was well hidden. Grandpa and the others were not targeted by the silver moon race. Universe Lin Ling can sense it. Maybe I can bring Universe Lin Ling here. If so, my strength will be greatly improved. After Lin Ling entered the underworld, he had been secretly increasing his strength. Now he finally felt the return of his strength. However, after his soul power reached 2 million steps, Lin Ling also found that the effect of devouring the little beasts was very weak. Moreover, after he walked out of the fortress, there were very few little beasts that followed him into the fortress. It seemed that he had devoured too many little beasts, causing his soul power to have the aura of the little beasts. Those little beasts no longer paid attention to him. The hurricane whirlpool in the distance has been there for 10 years. I wonder who it is. On this day, Lin Ling stood on the second floor and looked into the distance through the window. There was also a huge whirlpool that had been there for 10 years. In these 10 years, Lin Ling observed it every day and found that the whirlpool had not weakened at all. He guessed that there must be someone trapped in the whirlpool. It was probably one of the 18 people who entered the Dizong Palace. Moreover, the whirlpool was in the middle of the two fortresses. It was really difficult to escape. Let's go. After that, Lin Ling left the fortress. After 10 years, he could finally move forward without fear of the little beasts. Outside the fortress, there were still many little beasts. However, after noticing Lin Ling, they only circled around and gradually ignored Lin Ling. Because half of Lin Ling's soul was transformed from the little beast's souls, he was naturally seen as a little beast. Along the way, Lin Ling was no longer in danger. He slowed down and constantly checked his surroundings but did not find anything. It was only when he walked close to the whirlpool that he discovered that there was indeed someone inside. Moreover, it was a huge crab. "Who are you? How about you help me?" Moreover, as if sensing that someone was watching from afar, a human voice came from the crab. Looking carefully, this crab had a hard shell. It was relying on this shell to block the little beast's devouring. However, at this moment, the shell was riddled with holes and was bitten beyond recognition. As for the crab, it shrank into the shell like a tortoise. Lin Ling did not speak and continued watching quietly. In fact, if he really wanted to save this person, he could do it. However, why should he save him? If he saved an expert, it would be even more troublesome. "I am Elder Xia. Sir, if you help me, I will give you a large amount of treasures." Seeing that Lin Ling was silent, the crab spoke. Lin Ling's eyes narrowed. It was Elder Xia? This old man had always wanted to kill him, and now he was in such a state. "I am Yadu." Lin Ling finally spoke. The crab was completely silent, as if in disbelief. Yadu was not dead. Moreover, Yadu was watching him being bitten by the little beasts. This scene could be described as a reversal of fortune. "You!" Elder Xia roared angrily. He knew that Yadu would definitely not help him. "I didn't expect you to be alive. However, I won't die so easily. I won't make a fool of myself. Just you wait. When I escape, the first person I kill will be you." The crab roared angrily. Inside the shell, an old man sat cross-legged. A white seahorse appeared in his hand. He looked at the seahorse with reluctance. "Little Hai, I have searched for a way to escape, but I still can't. If I hadn't been hiding in the shell, I probably wouldn't have lasted 10 years. Now, I know that it's useless to continue holding on, so I have to rely on you." The white seahorse looked at Elder Xia and understood his meaning. It nodded, but tears flowed out of its eyes. "Little Hai, if I rule the universe in the future, I will definitely change your fate and return you a body," Elder Xia said coldly, then threw the seahorse out. The moment the seahorse appeared, it attracted the attention of countless little beasts. Elder Xia used the seahorse as an excuse to abandon the shell and escape. At the same time, he glanced at Lin Ling, and his eyes instantly narrowed, because he saw the white-haired man not far away, who was watching this scene coldly. The terrifying thing was that the little beasts in the surroundings didn't seem to notice him. "Yadu, you're on your own." Chapter 50-33. Elder Xia was very weak now. Although he wanted to kill Yadu quickly, he wanted to leave immediately to recover. When he thought of the dead seahorse, he felt like his heart was being stabbed. He felt like he owed the seahorse his life. At this moment, something was thrown at him. When he turned around, his pupils constricted. F***K. Elder Xia could not help but curse. This was because he saw Yadu kill the small beasts and throw them at him. Why was Yadu still not leaving? He suddenly recalled that 10 years ago, when he first met these small beasts, he had killed many of them in a fit of anger. In the end, he was surrounded by a large group of small beasts. "Yadu, you are crazy. You will attract a large number of small beasts." Elder Xia's expression changed instantly as he shouted anxiously. If not for his lack of strength, he would have killed this despicable white-haired man. Lin Ling's expression did not change as he said coldly, "So what if I attract them? I'm not afraid of small beasts." "But I'm afraid." Elder Xia was trembling with anger. "What does that have to do with me?" Lin Ling replied coldly. After he said that, he threw out a large number of small beasts. In a blink of an eye, the ground was filled with them. Wang wang wang. At the same time, in the distance behind him, tornadoes began to appear. Clearly, countless small beasts were attracted. This made Elder Xia's pupils tremble. He had been trapped by these small beasts for 10 years and had just escaped. Now he had to face these small beasts again. If you want to find a safe place, you can only go to the fort in the distance. However, before you reach the fort, these small beasts will hold you back. Lin Ling said indifferently. "You despicable." Elder Xia stopped in his tracks. He was so anxious that his eyes turned red. He looked around and knew that he could not escape. Lin Ling also stopped and looked at him indifferently. Elder Xia had been targeting him and wanted to kill him. Now he had finally met his match. You do before I die, I will definitely drag you down with me. Elder Xie kept analyzing and finally decided to go all out, choosing to perish together with Lin Ling. Just you? You are not worthy. Lin Ling said indifferently. Do you think I've been keeping quiet because I'm afraid of you? I'm just too lazy to kill you in front of everyone. Shameless boasting. Elder Xie did not believe that a mere soul could be his match. Crab pincers appeared in his hand as he pounced at Lin Ling with a ferocious godly power. The pincers grew in size and came clamping down like two mountains. Although Elder Xie looked weak, he was still hiding his strength. Moreover, death was near. In his anger, he wanted Lin Ling to die with him. Lin Ling's mouth was full of disdain. The sword of faith appeared in his hand, and he slashed out. Rumble! The sword of faith clashed with the crab pincer and instantly broke it. Elder Crab spat out a large mouthful of blood and was stunned. How could this feng poison be so strong? Wasn't he a soul? Why was the soul also able to activate the divine essence method? Now you should know how foolish you were when you wanted me dead. Lin Ling looked at Elder Xie indifferently and did not kill him. His words stunned Elder Xie, as though he had been struck by lightning. He knew. Back then, he had seen Lin Ling bring a map fragment, and it was a soul. Therefore, he wanted to steal Lin Ling's map fragment. He also believed that Lin Ling did not have the qualifications to join them, but now it seemed that Lin Ling was even stronger than him. Enjoy this final piece of heaven and earth. Lin Ling still did not kill Elder Xie. He left with large strides. In front of him, a terrifying hurricane was approaching. However, Lin Ling successfully passed through the hurricane. The hurricane headed straight for Elder Xie, entangling him. Feng poison, save me. Save me. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have attacked you, please save me. Only now did Elder Xie know who he had provoked. At this moment, he no longer had any thoughts of killing Lin Ling. He only hoped that Lin Ling could save his life. Unfortunately, Lin Ling was not a kind person. How could he save him? He strode towards the fortress in the distance, allowing Elder Xie to be devoured by the little beasts. After a long time, he arrived at the fortress. Lin Ling entered the fortress and found it empty. However, there was a small line of words in the corner. It was left behind by the marquis. Could it be that the marquis left behind words in every fortress? Lin Ling's eyes twinkled. There are fortresses along the way. I think the next fortress will really have words left behind by the marquis. Guangqingzi said. Lin Ling nodded. After waiting for a long time, he left the fortress and returned to where Elder Xie was surrounded. He then saw Elder Xie's corpse. He had turned into a mummy, his body as stiff as a rock. Perhaps because he had turned into an inanimate object, the little beasts had scattered. However, Elder Xie looked miserable before he died. His expression was ferocious and full of desire. It was a desire to live. Lin Ling was expressionless. He searched Elder Xie's body for map fragments and found a large number of treasures. Then he left. After a long time, he reached the next fortress. There were words left behind by the marquis. The marquis seemed to be afraid of getting lost, so he left words in every fortress. Of course, Lin Ling also saw footprints in the fortress. It seemed like someone else had entered before him. Lin Ling guessed that it was someone from the team. Next, Lin Ling left without stopping. When he reached the next fortress, he found the words left behind by the marquis. After finding 3 more in a row, Lin Ling finally felt that something was wrong. According to this direction, I'm following the same path as the junior marquis. However, the words left behind at the first fort are different. That means the junior marquis left those words behind when he went back. The reason he went back is because he didn't find the mirror dimension. Therefore, even if I follow the fortress, I still won't be able to find the mirror realm in the end. Moreover, the large group is also going in this direction. This means that everyone who entered this place used the fortress as a reference point to move forward and eventually went the wrong way. Lin Ling continued to analyze. You are right. Guangqingzi's voice floated out. Because of the little beasts, most people do not want to stray too far from the fortress. This means that they can only follow the fortress. That is not the path to the mirror realm. Let's go in another direction, Lin Ling immediately suggested, and Guang Chengzi agreed. Although they didn't know what the mirror dimension was, the Marquis had actually entered the Xitigarbha Palace once. This meant that he was extremely strong. He had also come for the mirror dimension. This meant that the mirror dimension was the real location of the Xitigarbha Palace. A great treasure. The fortresses are connected in a line. If we follow this line, we will definitely go in the wrong direction. That leaves 2 directions. Lin Ling, where should we go? Guang Chengzi said. Go left first. If that doesn't work, go right. Chapter 50-34. The path on the left was very long, and they didn't encounter anything along the way. It was full of boulders, which was a test of their patience. However, Lin Ling had been practicing martial arts for a long time, and his patience had been tempered 1,000 times. He continued forward with perseverance. After walking for 3 years, a large river finally appeared in front of them. The river flowed and blocked Lin Ling's path. Looking at the river, there seemed to be no end to it. It was more like a sea than a river. What was more shocking was that looking through the river, one could see countless demons and ghosts at the bottom of the river. All of them were extremely terrifying. Have we reached the end? Lin Ling's eyes flickered. He didn't get too close to the river. Demons and ghosts are dancing in the river. If I'm not wrong, this river is the mirror realm. Look at the people in our group. Guang Chengzi also stared at the river and suddenly saw a familiar face. It was Shen Yu. Maybe it's an illusion. Lin Ling still felt that it was unreal. After all, they were only 1 river away from the demons and ghosts. This feeling was too strange. No, this is real. Look at the red-haired man. He's very strong, not much weaker than me. Moreover, he's also watching us. As long as we enter the river, we'll probably be attacked by him. Guang Chengzi shook his head and said, but the mirror realm is just below. Are we going to give up? Wait. Lin Ling continued to stare at the river, and a thought flashed through his mind. He felt that something was wrong. Shen Yu is in the river, and she's in conflict with the demons and ghosts in the river. She's fleeing. When Yuan Bing is also there, and most importantly the Black Tower is there. TSK, all of this is real, but it's not the real mirror realm. After all, these people went along the fortress and finally reached the river. If I go down from here, I'll probably take the same path as the fortress. The real path is on the right side of the fortress. Right, the mirror realm is on the other side of the mirror. That's right, it must be on the right. Lin Ling became more and more excited as he spoke. It was as if he had guessed the secret. What you said is possible. Why don't we go back and take the right path? Although it's time-consuming, it's better than entering the river and being chased by those demons and ghosts. Master Guangqing's voice trembled. He had never imagined that Lin Ling would have such conjectures. Immediately, they left the river and went back the way they came. After 3 years, they finally arrived at the area of the fortress. Next, they went to the right. After another 3 years, another large river appeared in front of them. This river was exactly the same as the one on the left. The only difference was that this river was still. However, if one looked down through the river, they would still be able to see the demons and ghosts in the river. This is the mirror realm? Guang Chengzi's voice was filled with disbelief. That was because there were still demons and ghosts in the river. Logically speaking, it should be impossible. Lin Ling didn't say anything and continued to ponder. After a long time he guessed, if we follow the fortress, we can reach the world of demons and ghosts, but we can't enter or leave. If we follow the left side of the fortress, we can see the world of demons and ghosts, but as long as we don't jump into the river. Don't worry, the red-haired man is the only one who can notice us in the river. The others don't seem to notice us. If we follow the right side, although there are still demons and ghosts, they can't find us. Perhaps this river is the world in the mirror. Hearing this, Master Guangqingzi fell silent. He felt that Lin Ling's conjecture was too crazy. After a while, Master Guangqingzi asked, "Do you plan to enter?" Lin Ling pondered and finally nodded. My soul power has surpassed its peak, but the speed of my growth is too slow. Without a physical body, I can't recover my strength. In the underworld, it's not difficult to find a physical body, but it's difficult to find a physical body. It's not easy to find my physical body. I have a feeling that there's something I want in the mirror realm. As long as I find a physical body that's comparable to the past, or even stronger, the underworld won't be able to stop me. Since I've already died once, I might as well go crazy again. Lin Ling's voice was filled with determination and craziness. For Yu and the others, for revenge, even if it was hell, he had to go. He didn't believe that he, the reincarnated soul of the god of creation, would really die in the underworld. You're right. If you don't go down, you might not die, but you'll be trapped in the underworld forever. If you want to open a new world, you have to fight. Master Guangchengzi was also influenced by Lin Ling's determination. Master Guangchengzi, thank you. If you didn't carry my memories, I would still be a lonely soul in the underworld. If you didn't accompany me, I might not have been able to enter this cold underworld. Now, whether it's life or death, I'll create it. Lin Ling said solemnly to Master Guangchengzi. No, we'll create it together. Master Guangchengzi smiled faintly. I'm looking forward to the day when you avenge my disciple, the Yellow Emperor, and bring him out of the underworld. Hearing this, Lin Ling nodded heavily and jumped into the river. Whoosh! The river overflowed and drowned Lin Ling, making Lin Ling feel that it was no different from jumping into an ordinary river. But as he sank, this feeling disappeared. It was as if he had come to another space, another universe. The land here was very dark, and there were mountains and plains all around. Terrifying ghosts, demonic auras were condensing and spreading everywhere, as if they had materialized. Looking up, everything had disappeared, leaving only the blood-red sky. A mere god of the underworld dares to enter the empty hell world. This is the great universe of Blood River God. You're courting death. At that moment, a deep voice sounded out, causing the ground to tremble as a terrifying aura flooded out. A 100-meter-tall giant walked over. He wore heavy armor, and his body was filled with ghostly chi, demonic chi, and devil chi. Inhaling and exhaling seemed to be the combination of these three types of auras. His skin was slightly dark, and there were 2 horns on his head, making him look extremely majestic. Then he pounced toward Lin Ling. Judging from the strength of his aura, he was actually comparable to a Saint Giant Universe god. Oh no, he found me! Lin Ling's expression changed dramatically. He didn't expect to meet such a powerful demon as soon as he entered. Idiot, once you enter my hell's empty realm, you won't be able to hide your nether chi. The demon roared and quickly arrived in front of Lin Ling. The sword of faith appeared in Lin Ling's hand, and he was ready to fight to the death. However, just as Lin Ling was about to swing his sword, he realized that the fiendish demon had passed by him and was chasing into the distance. Upon closer inspection, there was a person in the distance. It was the man with the ghostly aura in the group. He didn't find me. Lin Ling's eyes narrowed. I know, mirror realm, mirror realm. You've entered the mirror realm in another part of the universe, just like in a mirror. You can see them, you can even touch anything, but they can't see you, they can't even touch you. They can't attack you. Guangchengzi said suddenly. Chapter 50-35. With this thought in mind, Lin Ling couldn't help but look behind him. Then he realized that the demonic man in the giant armor had killed the man covered in ghost chi. The demonic man was also eating the man's flesh. After a long time, he finally left. Throughout the whole process, he didn't even look at Lin Ling. It was as if he didn't notice Lin Ling at all. I knew it. Lin Ling had always wanted to test if the demonic man could notice him. However, he couldn't. Lin Ling, the light marquis, tried all means to enter the mirror realm. Now that you've found him, there must be great benefits in the mirror realm. Now let's start looking for them. Guangchengzi said to Lin Ling excitedly. Hearing this, Lin Ling nodded heavily. He glanced at the man covered in ghostly aura and walked over. He found a large number of treasures on him and even a fragment of a map. Now he had 3 fragments of a map. He didn't know why, but he felt that the fragment of a map might be useful. Therefore, he kept all of them carefully. Let's go. Then Lin Ling walked along the ground. Rumble. Soon, the ground shook and the volcano erupted. Demonic chi flames shot up into the sky and covered the sky. Whoosh! Then the demonic chi flames rained down from the sky. However, Lin Ling found it strange that the flames could pass through him and didn't affect him at all. Sure enough, any attack here is useless against me. Lin Ling's eyes lit up. It seemed that not only the demonic man's attack, but also the attacks of heaven and earth couldn't affect him. Previously, he had collected treasures such as the fragment of a map, which meant that he could attack others. However, this place is too big. We have no clue what treasures we can find. Guangqingzi said. Lin Ling frowned immediately. He didn't know what treasure the light marquis was looking for. However, at this rate it would take him a long time to find it. Perhaps if I can find the strongest person in this universe, then I'll be able to get the information. Lin Ling, I think the strongest person in this universe is that red-haired man. He was able to see us on the left side of the river, but I don't know if he can see us now that we're in the mirror realm. You'll know once you try. Lin Ling knew that since he was already here, he had to give it a try no matter how dangerous it was. And his primary goal was to find the devil cultivator. Then he looked at the sky in the distance and sensed where the demonic aura was the densest. Finally, he chose a direction and moved forward. The demon dwellers here were very strange. They did not look like ghosts, nor did they look like underworld dwellers, nor did they look like demons. They were more like an ancient race from the universe. But they were very powerful. Among those that Lin Ling had seen, the weakest was at the saint-level universe giant god level. Rumble. There was an intense battle in the distance. When Lin Ling got closer, he suddenly realized that it was the people from the previous team. They were fighting against 2 devil cultivator together. There were more than 10 people here, and only 2 devil cultivator. However, the difference in strength was too great. Even if they joined forces, they could not block the attacks of the devil cultivator. However, Lin Ling saw that Shen Yu Shengu, Wen Yuanbing and the other strength had increased, and the increase was not small. This meant that when they arrived in this universe, they had obtained good treasures and their strength had greatly increased. Not good, these devil cultivators are too strong. We can't win at all. Let's run. If we continue to stay here, we'll only die. But don't we want the treasures here? They were talking as they fought. Originally, they wanted to retreat, but when they heard that there were treasures in this universe, everyone gritted their teeth and persevered. Save me. However, their strength was inferior. This was a fact that could not be changed no matter what. Another person had been killed. A total of 19 of them entered here, and now there were less than 10 people left. Run. Shen Yu did not dare to continue fighting. She turned and ran. Shen Yu, you're shameless. Seeing that Shen Yu suddenly left, everyone cursed. After all, if they joined forces, they could barely hold on for a while. However, Shen Yu suddenly ran away, causing the pressure to fall on them. Let's retreat. Next, when Yuanbing, Shengu and the others also ran away. Seeing this, everyone had the intention to retreat. Unfortunately, the people who ran first had the advantage. After all, the devil cultivator's attention was attracted by the remaining people. Rumble. Another person died. One of the devil cultivators chased after the others, while the other devil cultivator was still fighting. Unfortunately, everyone had started to run, causing one of the devil cultivators to be slower and be restrained. This person was He Ta. Damn it. The Black Tower also cursed loudly, and his eyes were completely red. Seeing that the devil cultivators were getting closer, he had no choice but to use his trump card. In the sky, a huge bronze bell smashed down. The devil cultivators could not get closer, and could only use their hands to support the sky and block with difficulty. Eastern Emperor Bell. At the same time, Lin Ling, who was in the mirror realm, was shocked. He Ta was Shang Yi's soul. However, did he not go through 3 baptisms after entering the netherworld? Why did he have the Eastern Emperor Bell? Could it be that he still had memories? Kid, your bell is not bad. Unfortunately, you're still too weak to activate the bell's power. At the same time, the devil cultivator let out a low voice. He actually held the bell with both hands and walked step by step toward He Ta. What a powerful devil cultivator. He Ta's expression changed slightly, but he soon felt relieved. This devil cultivator had the strength of a giant universe god. He naturally could not block it. However, at this time, a sword flashed and pierced through the devil cultivator. The most terrifying thing was that this sudden sword came without any warning. No one could detect it. Who is it? The devil cultivator still held the Eastern Emperor bell and let out a loud roar. At the same time, Heita's body trembled. He was very familiar with that sword. In fact, when he first joined the team, he saw a familiar face. However, the netherworld was too big, and the white-haired man was very cold, so he was not sure if that man was someone he knew. Therefore, he planned to find a chance to ask after entering the Dezong Palace. Unfortunately, that man was missing. He probably died in the Dezong Palace, so he secretly guessed that the man was not the person he was looking for. Now that he saw that sword, he was sure that the white-haired man was the person he was looking for. Xiao. At this time, another sword slashed toward him. This devil cultivator was indeed powerful. He was only injured after being hit by the sword. However, the enemy was invisible. He could not detect him even after using all his divine abilities. Therefore, it was useless no matter how strong he was. He could not see his opponent at all. Xiao. Xiao. After a dozen consecutive slashes, the devil cultivator finally fell. A large amount of devil chi blood flowed out and dyed the ground red. Suram Shungi, are you there? Heita no longer had any doubts after seeing the devil cultivator fall. He shouted to the surroundings. Chapter 50-36. However, when Lin Ling wanted to answer him, he realized that his voice could not be transmitted. Instead, Guang Chengzi informed Lin Ling that more demons were coming. Lin Ling had no choice but to go to St. Guy's side and pat him on the shoulder. He then pulled St. Guy in a different direction and told him to escape. My lord, you are still alive. You know me. You have memories. St. Guy was so happy that he cried. Although he could not see Lin Ling, he knew that Lin Ling wanted him to escape. My lord, I will wait for you. St. Guy knew that it would be more troublesome if he stayed, so he immediately flew forward. Lin Ling watched him disappear. When the devil dwellers arrived, he activated the 3 extreme breaks of the universe and blocked them. Everyone be careful. There is a powerful soul fluctuation. The dozen or so devil cultivators all stopped in their tracks and waited. Some of them even used their soul power to resist Lin Ling. Lin Ling was shocked that their soul power was not much weaker than his. Fortunately, although their soul power was strong, it could not enter the mirror realm. He disappeared? What a strange method. I can't sense his aura at all. He is probably dead. Continue chasing. The demons checked for a moment and wanted to continue chasing. However, Lin Ling used his soul power again to tell them that he was not dead. His purpose was to buy time for St. Guy. Sure enough, when they saw another soul attack coming, all the demon dwellers reacted as if they were facing a great enemy and were delayed for a long time. However, they could not sense Lin Ling at all. It was as if the soul attack came from another universe. After a long time, they finally gave up. So strange. Let's go back and tell the great god. All the demons began to retreat. Lin Ling followed them quietly. As long as Lin Ling did not attack, no one could discover him. Lin Ling was the only one. After a long time, a majestic mountain range appeared in front of them. It stretched as far as the eye could see, and the mountain range was pitch black. The entrance to the mountain range was a gigantic skeleton mountain. The mouth of the mountain was wide open, and all the demons were sucked into it. Lin Ling, be careful. When Lin Ling was about to enter, Guang Chengzi reminded him. This was because the red-haired man in this universe was very mysterious. He was the only person who could see Lin Ling and the others. If they were discovered, Lin Ling would undoubtedly die. Lin Ling nodded and cautiously followed in. After entering the mouth of the skull, Lin Ling discovered that it was a narrow and winding path. Of course, it was only a narrow and winding path to the devil dwellers. To the tiny Lin Ling, it was like a grand road. Both sides of the road were full of tall rock walls. It gave off an oppressive feeling. After walking along the main road for a long time, the view in front of them suddenly opened up. They had arrived at a huge open space. Upon closer inspection, the open space was actually filled with demons. Some stood on the ground, while others stood on the distant mountain peaks. There were tens of thousands of them. They were densely packed and terrifying. Powerful auras rolled in all directions. Even though Lin Ling was in the mirror world, he still felt a sense of difficulty breathing. At the end of the open space sat a red-haired man. He was 50 meters tall and wore armor. There was a mysterious tattoo on his chest, making him look majestic. He closed his eyes and sat quietly without moving. Great God! The devil cultivator that entered all bowed in respect. However, the red-haired man remained motionless. The entire open space suddenly fell silent. Everyone seemed to be waiting for the red-haired man to speak. Moreover, this was the first time they had seen the red-haired man so silent. Finally, the red-haired man opened his eyes and looked in the direction of the entrance. That place was where Lin Ling was. With just a glance, Lin Ling stopped breathing. He did not dare to move, and his heart pounded non-stop. Could it be that the red-haired man had discovered him? Fortunately, the red-haired man quickly retracted his gaze and looked at the demons that had entered. He asked what happened. The demons immediately told him what had happened. It's those gods from the underworld again. Kill them all. Every 10 million years, gods from the underworld will enter. Kill them all. They're courting death. Among those who entered last time, only the Light Marquis was strong. It was said that he was the reincarnation of the god of the underworld. He escaped, but now there are still people who dare to enter. Humph, whoever enters will die. Even the god of the underworld will die if he meets God Blood River. Deafening voices came from all directions. The demons raised their weapons and roared. You're saying that someone is attacking you, but you can't see anyone. However, the red-haired man waved his hand and all the demons fell silent. Then the red-haired man asked. Yes, the demons nodded. The red-haired man's eyes flashed. His eyes looked at Lin Ling again. No one knew what he was thinking. Great God, is it the Light Marquis again? Someone saw the red-haired man's serious face and immediately asked. I don't know. Maybe it's him. He has been eyeing that corpse. After all, that corpse is the only one in the entire universe. It's also the strongest body. The red-haired man said indifferently. It's a pity that it's not that easy to refine that corpse. Go find those outsiders and kill them all. The red-haired man stood up, and a terrifying aura filled the air. Under his command, numerous demons rushed out. It was a mighty and incomparably terrifying scene. In the blink of an eye, only the red-haired man was left. He looked at Lin Ling calmly. No one knew what he was thinking. Lin Ling still didn't dare to move. Could it be that I'm hallucinating? It's said that when Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva suppressed us, he left behind a mirror realm to monitor us. But what is this mirror realm? The Light Marquis said millions of years ago that he would come again. Could it be that he's here? He's not only the reincarnation of the god of the underworld, but also the star of the universe. He can't be underestimated. Let's take a look at that thing first. The red-haired man muttered to himself and walked into the depths of the open space. Lin Ling still didn't dare to move, but his heart was in turmoil. The Light Marquis was the reincarnation of the god of the underworld? And he was also one of the 9 stars of the universe? The 9 stars of the universe were the nemesis of the worlds we'll host. It's getting more and more interesting. I didn't expect that the god of the underworld would win and lose. This god of the underworld hates you to the core and wants to torture you. But I didn't expect that he would also help you. Master Guangqing, however, smiled. Lin Ling nodded. If he didn't leave those words unintentionally, I wouldn't know where the mirror realm is. It seems that I should thank him properly. Lin Ling, follow him. The red-haired man seems to be afraid that the treasure will be taken away, so he went to take a look. Follow him and you can find the treasure. Guangchengzi suddenly thought of something and quickly said. And he said that it's the best meat in the universe. Chapter 50-37. The endless demon mountain was silent. It was as if all the demons had left, causing the demon mountain to give off a stifling feeling. The huge red-haired man walked ahead at a moderate speed. He turned left and right as if he was walking in a maze. Lin Ling realized that if he were to walk alone on the demon mountain, unless he descended from the sky, he wouldn't be able to find a way out in a short period of time. Lin Ling, don't follow too closely. Guangchengzi's voice could be heard occasionally, causing Lin Ling to stop from time to time. Especially at the corners when Lin Ling didn't slow down, it was easy for him to bump into the red-haired man. Although Lin Ling was in the mirror world, no one knew what would happen if he bumped into the red-haired man. Fortunately, Guang Chengzi had reminded him. Every time he turned a corner, as long as he didn't see the red-haired man, Lin Ling would wait in place for a moment. This person is very strong and can really detect us. However, he isn't sure if it's an illusion or something. Guang Chengzi said to Lin Ling. The red-haired man indeed felt that something was wrong behind him, so he walked very slowly. However, after sensing carefully, he didn't find anything. Is it really an illusion? I should go and see my treasure immediately before it is stolen. After walking for 2 hours, the red-haired man finally sped up. It was obvious that he valued the treasure hidden in the Demon Mountain. And after he sped up, it meant that he no longer cared about Lin Ling and the others. Lin Ling also sped up. Before long, an even more majestic mountain peak appeared in front of them. It towered into the clouds and one couldn't see its peak. There was only a valley entrance, and the red-haired man immediately rushed in. The valley entrance was filled with mist, and the red-haired man rushed out. A human figure appeared, and it slowly recovered. Lin Ling, quick! Rush in before the mist fuses. Master Guangqing stared ahead and suddenly shouted anxiously. Lin Ling nodded solemnly and hurriedly shot into the fog. He was far away from the red-haired man, and the fog was recovering very quickly. Therefore, Lin Ling had almost missed his chance. This mist is a kind of energy in the red-haired man's body. If someone approaches, he can sense it. Therefore, you can use the mist that he has dispersed to enter. This way he won't be able to sense you. After entering the valley, Guang Chengzi said to Lin Ling. After Lin Ling nodded, he looked around and realized that this valley was even more majestic than before. A giant was quietly leaning against the wall. This giant was so big that it was unimaginable. His upper body was naked, and there were complicated runes all over his body. His long hair was draped over his shoulders, and his eyes were closed. He looked like a corpse. In front of the giant, the red-haired man stood there calmly. He raised his head and looked at the giant with an excited smile on his face. The red-haired man could be considered huge, but compared to the giant, he was like a little lamb. Lin Ling, don't you think this giant looks familiar? At this time, Guang Chengzi said to Lin Ling in shock. Lin Ling's attention was originally on the red-haired man. After hearing this, he looked at the giant. The more he looked, the more familiar it seemed, as if he had seen it somewhere before. When you use Pengu Strike, the final giant you transform into looks like this. Guang Chengzi immediately reminded Lin Ling when he saw that Lin Ling did not react. Hearing this, Lin Ling's expression finally changed. Pengu! This was the real Pengu. How was this possible? Lin Ling's entire soul was trembling in disbelief. He stared at the giant and suddenly realized that the giant seemed to be looking at him. Even though the giant was a corpse, this feeling was still very strong. The number one physical body in the universe and the only one. No wonder. It seems that the underworld god is also looking for this treasure. Lin Ling, the red-haired man, has left. As Lin Ling stared at the giant, Guang Chengzi's voice drifted over, waking Lin Ling up. Do I have a chance to obtain this giant? After Lin Ling woke up, he immediately asked. His entire soul was trembling. His previous physical body was in fact incomparably precious. After all, Lin Ling began tempering his physical body in the rainforest's sacred land. After so many years, his physical body had been tempered to a terrifying level. However, compared to Pengu's true body, his previous physical body was still incomparable. You can try, but it will be difficult. After all, the red-haired man said that he had not succeeded in refining it for so long. However, Lin Ling, you have cultivated Pengu Strike. Perhaps you have a chance. Guang Chengzi kept saying. Lin Ling floated over and examined the giant's feet. Gradually he reached the knees, then the thighs, stomach and chest. Suddenly, his gaze fell on the giant's 2 arms. He realized that all 10 of the giant's fingers were present. That's not right. I obtained Pengu's finger. That finger was feared by the Universe Toad clan. However, all 10 fingers of this body are present. Could it be that this is not Pengu's body? Lin Ling frowned. Very likely. However, it could also be the bloodline of the Pengu clan. After all, legend has it that the real Pangu has transformed into the universe. His physical body no longer exists. Guangqingzi guessed. I will know once I enter his body. If there is a familiar aura in his body, it must be Pangu's bloodline. Lin Ling continued to fly upward and reached the giant's ear. He then entered through the ear. Compared to Pangu, his body was as small as a bug. Naturally, he could enter easily. However, he soon realized that there was a familiar aura in the giant's body. It was the same as the aura of the Pangu strike in Pangu's finger. It was incomparably ancient. This is the bloodline of the Pangu clan. Moreover, it is the purest bloodline. If I can refine him, I will have a physical body in the underworld. Lin Ling immediately became excited. However, how should he refine him? Perhaps you can try using Pangu's strike. Guangqingzi said, of course, if you have the Pangu clan's Pangu true movement technique, you should be able to refine him successfully. However, the Pangu strike is an offensive technique of the Pangu clan. The chances are relatively low. Even if you can, the refining speed will not be fast. However, it will definitely be much faster than Blood River God. Alright, I'll give it a try. Wait, take a look at the giant's body first. I believe that the red-haired man has left some energy in the giant's body, and is continuing to refine him. Hearing this, Lin Ling hurriedly swam into the giant's body. After investigating for a long time, he finally found a strange power at the giant's heart. The entire giant's heart had turned black, and it was slowly dyeing the surroundings black. That's right. That red-haired man started from the heart. However, the speed at which he refined this body was very slow. Lin Ling, you should refine the other parts of the body first and then the heart. Alright. Chapter 50-38. A strange force suddenly emanated from Lin Ling's soul. If this force had appeared elsewhere, it would have quickly disappeared into the void. However, in the giant's body, it immediately infected the surroundings. First, the giant's brain seemed to be assimilated. It's effective. Lin Ling opened his eyes and was extremely happy. It's not very fast, but compared to the red-haired man, it's hundreds of millions of times faster. Lin Ling slowly refined this giant. Guangqingzi was also happy for Lin Ling. If he obtained this body, there was no doubt that Lin Ling would be able to make a comeback. In the future, he would definitely step into the ranks of the top gods in the universe. Time passed quietly. During this time, the red-haired man also came several times, but he couldn't detect Lin Ling in the giant's brain. Finally, the red-haired man left. After Lin Ling refined the giant's brain, the entire head gradually came under his control. At first, it was very uncomfortable, but after familiarizing himself with it, he felt that the giant's head was like his own. After refining the head, Lin Ling's soul also gained something. It was actually Pangu's true movement technique. This was the universe's #1 physical cultivation technique. And the resource needed for cultivation was actually the universe. It turned out that Pangu refined the universe to increase his strength. As expected of Pangu, directly refining the universe, Lin Ling was excited, and a sense of heroism rose in his heart. After the head was refined, the following speed became much faster. Left arm, right arm, chest, abdomen, thigh, calf. Time seemed slow, but in fact, after 100 years, the giant was finally left with only the heart. Lin Ling could even feel that the entire body was under his control, as if it was his own body. He even had an illusion that he was a baby floating in the vast universe, constantly absorbing the essence of the universe and gradually growing. Lin Ling, the red-haired man, is very strong. Now that you have refined the giant's body, you are probably not his match. So after refining the heart, you must leave immediately. Besides, you're in the mirror world, but your huge body can't enter. So you can only leave from here. Have you found the way out? Guangqingzi reminded Lin Ling. I reckon that the way out should be the map fragment. Try burning it. Lin Ling also stopped refining. Before he found a way out, he didn't dare to confront the red-haired man. After that, he used his soul power to refine the map fragments. Lin Ling had obtained quite a number of map fragments. After being burned by his soul power, green smoke rose from the fragments. The strange thing was that the green smoke didn't disperse, instead it formed a haze. Moreover, within the haze one could see He felt an aura that was different from the infernal universe. It seems like the way out is indeed through the map fragments. However, your physical body is simply too massive. If you want to leave, you'll have to burn all of the map fragments. Furthermore, the timing has to be coincidental. You'll have to burn the map fragments just as you finished assimilating the heart. It's empty. Master Guangqing kept reminding him. Lin Ling nodded. He constantly sensed the time needed to refine the map fragments. After familiarizing himself with it, he began to refine the heart. And now Lin Ling not only had the Pangu's strike, but he had also learned the Pangu's true movement technique. His assimilation speed was undoubtedly much faster. He prayed that the red-haired man wasn't on Demon Mountain. This would buy him more time. At the same time, far away on the ground, the red-haired man was chasing after several outsiders. After sensing a strange feeling, his expression changed. Not good. He immediately rushed towards Demon Mountain. His speed was incomparably fast. In just an incense stick's worth of time, he returned from the distant horizon. Following that, he followed Demon Mountain's path and rushed towards the valley. Lin Ling, he's back. Quick, quick, quick. At the same time, Master Guangqing's anxious voice sounded. Lin Ling's expression was solemn. His huge giant body suddenly sat down cross-legged, causing Demon Mountain to shake. He was frantically refining the strength in the heart. And behind him the map fragments were burning, gradually forming a huge haze. In his body, the originally black heart was rapidly recovering its color. The speed was incomparably fast. Pung! At the same time, a figure finally rushed in. It was the red-haired man. After seeing the giant sitting cross-legged, he was furious. Who are you? He never expected that someone would steal his treasures right under his nose. One had to know that he often came to check on the giant, but he never found anything strange. Lin Ling ignored him. He continued to refine the heart and all the treasures on him. His speed was as fast as lightning. You're courting death. Seeing that Lin Ling ignored him, the red-haired man threw a punch at Lin Ling. His godly energy was incomparably terrifying, reaching the level of 10 trillion. One had to know that when the Yellow Emperor broke through to become a Saint Universe giant, he only had 300 billion godly energy at most. 100,000. The difference was too great. Rumble. Seeing the punch coming, Lin Ling knew that if he did not make a move, he would be injured. The huge fist met the attack head-on. Two fists, one big and one small, collided. However, Lin Ling's fist was not a match at all. He was blasted away and smashed into Demon Mountain behind him. If it were any other giant god of the universe, they would have been completely destroyed long ago. But even so, Lin Ling was still injured. At the same time, he sensed that the haze behind him had completely formed and was starting to dissipate. Retreat. Lin Ling did not dare to tangle with the red-haired man. He immediately rushed into the haze and gradually disappeared. Where do you think you're going? The red-haired man obviously did not react in time. When he attacked, his palm grabbed empty air. He was furious and wanted to rush into the haze, but a powerful force blocked him. This was the sealing power of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Ah, damn it. As long as I get this body, I'll be free from the sea of bitterness and turn the netherworld upside down. This person actually dared to steal my body. I'll kill you, kill you. The red-haired man's body became even bigger. His violent aura was tumbling, and his red hair was like a snake, easily breaking through endless Demon Mountain. Lin Ling seemed to have entered the mirror world and was floating toward the sky. However, the red-haired man could not detect him, nor could he attack him. Wait for me. I'll definitely find you. The red-haired man suddenly looked toward the sky as if he had seen Lin Ling. But Lin Ling knew that the red-haired man did not see him. However, when Lin Ling flew higher and higher, he saw a huge sea of blood floating on the ground in the distant Demon Mountain. Most importantly, Lin Ling had Pangu's body, so he could sense that it was not a sea of blood but the blood of this corpse. No wonder Lin Ling did not see a drop of blood after entering the corpse. It was hidden there. Chapter 50-39. A huge suction force brought Lin Ling out of Hell's universe. At this moment, Lin Ling finally felt relieved. His purpose for coming to Dizong Palace was finally accomplished. When Linling disappeared, countless people in Hell's universe looked up at the sky coldly. Their eyes were filled with irreconcilable killing intent. At the highest peak of Demon Mountain, the red-haired man stood there like a javelin. He towered into the clouds as his long hair danced wildly. I will find you. When the time comes, I will tear you into pieces. I Blood River God swear. His voice actually rushed out of Hell's universe and reached Linling's ears. Linling still sneered. Although he knew that the red-haired man was very strong, by the time he came out, the universe would have already experienced a great era. This is still the land of boulders. Following that, Linling's gaze swept around and found that he had returned to the side of the river. In front of him, the river water was still as if it was a huge mirror. However, through the river water, he could see the scene under the river. Linling ignored it and strode away. Linling, congratulations on finally finding your physical body. Guangchengzi's voice came at the same time. I have found my physical body, but it's just that I'm like this now. Linling was speechless. He was still in the form of a giant. Naked, it was as strange as it could get. The universe's #1 physical body. It's just a change in appearance. Don't worry, this physical body's cultivation speed is probably very fast. It won't be long before you return to your previous appearance. Guangchengzi said. Linling only ran for a moment before he returned to the fortress. Then with a rumble, he sat down cross-legged. Suddenly, a large number of small beasts appeared around him. However, Linling released his soul force. After the small beasts circled around him a few times, they gradually flew away. As for Linling, he took out all the treasures on his body to cultivate, causing his body to continuously shrink. At the same time, he began to familiarize himself with this body. He had Panga's body cultivation method, which was the first body cultivation method in the universe. His cultivation speed was indeed fast, especially after this cultivation method was combined with Panga's body. His cultivation speed had reached a terrifying limit. It was just that the cultivation progress was great, and the consumption was also great. The treasures that Linling obtained before were all used up in less than an incense stick's worth of time. So strong. I've only trained for a short period of time and my physical strength has already reached 1 billion. Linling opened his eyes and they were filled with shock. Back then, his physical body was only 4 billion, but Panga's body was almost catching up to his back then. Spiritual qi has appeared in my dantian. Moreover, Linling had also started to cultivate spiritual qi. However, he was still in the beginning stages and needed more cultivation resources. Now that he was recultivating and had Pangu's body, even the cultivation of spiritual qi was incomparably fast. Pangu's body is actually determined by stars. A 9-star Pangu is the strongest. After surpassing that, one would be a real Pangu. Now, I'm in the 1-star range, and when I reach the later stages of this body cultivation, I need to refine the universe. Through Pangu's cultivation method, Linling roughly knew how the most ancient race determined their strength. Shrink. Next, Linling began to change his appearance, returning to the size of an ordinary person. However, this time, he did not change back to Linling's appearance. After all, he did not want to be recognized by the underworld too quickly. After that, he walked into the fortress in the distance, pondered for a while, and finally left a line of words. The underworld is gone. After leaving behind a line of words, Linling finally went back the way he came. Previously, 19 people had entered. Now, Linling did not know how many of them had come out alive. He only hoped that St. Yi could leave safely. Before long, Linling arrived at the Shiva Grand Hall. At this moment, the Shiva stone sculpture seemed to have noticed Linling. Several heads looked at Linling with deep meaning. Clearly, it had detected the aura of a demonic person on Linling's body. Linling, it has discovered us. After all, your body has been buried in the Demon Mountain for many years and more or less has the aura of a demonic person. It will take some time for it to dissipate. The purpose of the Shiva stone sculpture seems to be to stop that group of demonic people. However, it mistook you for a demonic person and will definitely stop you from leaving. This Shiva stone sculpture is amazing. Even the giant gods of the universe will take a detour when they see it. If we want to leave, I'm afraid there will be a lot of twists and turns. That might not be the case. Linling, the scariest thing about this Shiva stone sculpture is actually the coxcomb venomous snake. However, your panga body has the strongest defense and recovery. It might not be afraid of poison. After a round of discussion, Linling's eyes lit up. Guangchengzi's words made sense. Then he rushed forward along the grand hall. At the same time, the heaven and earth net appeared, and countless coxcomb venomous snakes crawled out from the ground. The heaven and earth net instantly entangled Linling. A large number of coxcomb venomous snakes also bit Linling, releasing poison that could kill even the giant gods of the universe. However, after the poison entered Linling's body, it did not affect him at all. Instead, it turned into nourishment, causing a star mark to appear on Linling's forehead. Beside this mark, the shadow of a star also quietly appeared. At the same time, Linling's physical strength was also rising rapidly, gradually reaching 1.5 billion. However, the second star was still not completely formed. Linling kept stuffing the coxcomb venomous snakes into his mouth, as if he was eating spicy strips. The coxcomb venomous snakes that entered Linling's body were digested by his stomach. It was as if they had entered a black hole in the universe, finally turning into all kinds of energy. When Linling's physical strength reached 1.8 billion, all the coxcomb venomous snakes were eaten by Linling, leaving not a single one behind. Break! Linling roared. The heaven and earth net was torn apart, and he took large strides forward. After devouring a large number of coxcomb venomous snakes, not only did his physical strength increase greatly, even his cultivation had reached the level of a lower deity. The main reason was that he had used the Chaos Divine formula to cultivate Mpangu's physical body technique to refine it. In addition, although the coxcomb venomous snakes seemed to be venomous, they were actually great treasures. Therefore, Linling recovered very quickly. However, after reaching the level of a lower deity, the increase in his realm began to slow down. It's Nan Wan. Along the way, Linling saw a corpse on the ground. The corpse had been eaten, leaving only clothes. However, Linling recognized that they were Nan Wan's clothes. He couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Nan Wan's death was tragic. After all, she only wanted to become stronger. But the road to becoming stronger was full of obstacles. Her life wasn't tough enough. And in the end, she died on the road to becoming stronger. Let's go, Guangchengzi said to Linling. Linling nodded and walked out of the Dizong Palace. He came to the sandstorm outside and pondered for a moment where he should go. Now I have to find Shangyi and then find more cultivation treasures. Shangyi has already recognized me, so he won't be too far away from here. Let's go out of the sandstorm and take a look. Chapter 50-40. There are underworld gods in this level of hell. They can cultivate, which means that they also have many cultivation treasures. I can snatch their treasures. Linling's eyes emitted a cold light. In order to become stronger, he didn't care if he was evil or not. Then he walked along the desert. After a long time, he finally met a god. It was a god from the underworld. Linling didn't say much. He stopped him and said coldly, "Hand over your treasures." The other party was a high-level god and seemed to be from the underworld. After being stopped by Linling, he was stunned. This was because Linling wasn't wearing any clothes and had long hair. Most importantly, his cultivation was only at the early stage of a low-level god. Such a person actually wanted to rob him? Where did this idiot come from? Ha ha ha. The god couldn't help but laugh. Boom. Linling's expression didn't change. He punched out. His powerful physical strength cracked the void and a storm surged. Rumble. In the desert, a huge ravine was punched out, and the god's head exploded. Linling found some cultivation treasures on his body and continued on his way. After a long time on the other side, Linling met another god from the underworld. Boom! He killed with a punch. More and more gods appeared, but they couldn't stop Linling's punch. Just like that, Linling's physical strength increased greatly. The second star was born, and his physical strength reached 2 billion. And to reach 3 stars, Linling felt that he had to have 4 billion physical strength. Moreover, after reaching 2 stars, Linling could also use Panga's attack. which could double his physical strength. As for the domain of spiritual chi cultivation, his realm had also reached the mid-level god level. He had recovered 30% of his strength in the past. Lin Ling could also use more powerful moves. Hence, from then on, Lin Ling continuously attacked the universe giant gods. As time passed, Lin Ling's notoriety spread throughout this hell. Many people knew that a wild man had appeared in this area. He killed his opponents without using a second punch. One Punch Demon Man. This was the title given to Lin Ling by this level of hell. However, Lin Ling had walked all over the vicinity and still did not see Shangyi. Therefore, he guessed that Shangyi must have been forced to go further away for some reason. In the following days, Lin Ling began to travel into the distance. On this day, he finally sensed St. Yi's aura. Lin Ling was very familiar with the aura of the Donghuang bell on Shangyi. As long as he was close enough, he would be able to sense it instantly. Finally found it. Lin Ling was overjoyed and hurriedly ran in that direction. Although he had recovered more than half of his strength and could fly, his running speed was even faster because of his number one physical body in the universe. Boom! Boom! After a series of gallops, the earth shook, and he reached the horizon in the blink of an eye. At this moment in the vast desert, a large number of gods were dealing with a burly man. If Lin Ling were here, he would definitely recognize this man as Shangyi. Kidney Bone, I didn't expect you to be with Shenyu. Shangyi said coldly as he looked at the person opposite him. That person's entire body was made of bones, but they were incomparably stiff. His figure was also very tall. He said indifferently, Black Tower, I know you obtained a great treasure in the Dizong Palace. Originally, I thought you had died in the Dizong Palace. I didn't expect you to still escape. However, the soul-burning emperor said that as long as you hand over the treasure, he will spare your life. Of course, the prerequisite is that you must submit to him. Shenyu, when did you become the soul-burning emperor's dog? Shangyi narrowed his eyes and scanned the people around him. These gods were all at the universe giant god level. Although they were weaker than the kings, there were too many of them. In addition, he had not recovered much of his strength, so the Donghuang bell could not unleash its power. The soul-burning emperor is too strong. Shen Yu and I have no choice but to submit to him. Kidney Bone said with a sigh. Alright, since we know each other, I'll make an exception and tell you so much. Have you made your choice? Shangyi fell silent. He was a soul with memories and a fleshly body, so he had rich battle experience. He was thinking about how to kill this group of people. Unfortunately, no matter how he calculated, the final result was that he would not be able to escape. Damn it! Shangyi cursed inwardly. He had finally met his lord, but his lord was nowhere to be found. Instead, this group of people had found him. Hong! However, at this moment, a rumbling sound could be heard. The ground shook, and yellow sand shot up into the sky as if a giant beast was running toward them. All the gods' expressions changed as they stared into the distance. What a terrifying aura. Who is it? He's probably not weak. Everyone be careful. At this moment, Kidney Bone could not be bothered with Shangyi anymore. Hong! When the person in front arrived, he punched out. The wind blew and the desert exploded. Several gods were killed by this punch. Bang! 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 They fell to the ground and died with their eyes open. Oh no, it's the one-punch demon. Everyone recognized this madman, and their faces turned pale with fright. It was said that the one-punch demon was a cruel and merciless character. Not many people dared to provoke him. Most importantly, as long as they were targeted by him, they would all die. There was no room for mercy. One-punch demon, we're the soul-burning emperor's men. Kidney Bone's expression changed drastically, and he quickly said, Rumble. However, the other party did not even bother to talk. He only killed ruthlessly. With each punch, a large number of gods died. No one could block his punch. He's just as the rumors say. The remaining gods were all afraid, and their bodies were trembling. Go, leave immediately. Kidney Bone gritted his teeth. He could only abandon the Black Tower and leave this place temporarily. But how can we report this? Some people were still unwilling to give up. How can we report this? The Black Tower has encountered the one-punch demon. He's dead for sure. Why do we need to report this? Kidney Bone shouted and fled into the distance. The other gods did not dare to stay and rushed into the distance. However, just as they moved, a figure chased after them. With a punch, several more gods were killed. Ah, why are you chasing after us? Black Tower, kill the Black Tower. Kidney Bone was completely confused. He had always thought that the one-punch demon was a pervert who would kill anyone he encountered. But now the Black Tower was actually fine. Hong! Another explosion sounded and finally, only Kidney Bone was left. I'll fight you to the death, one-punch demon, don't think I'm afraid of you. Kidney Bone saw that there was no way to escape. He suddenly enlarged and turned into a huge skeleton. A terrifying aura spread out from his skull. It was terrifying. Although he was only a king-level universe giant, he was definitely one of the strongest. Hong! With a punch, all the bones were shattered. One punch killed. Pung! In the sky, a figure crashed down. It was the one-punch demon. In the distance, Saint Yi was dumbfounded. He was too strong. Even a king-level universe giant could not block one punch. The one-punch demon was indeed worthy of his reputation. Then his expression turned ugly. Was it his turn now? Chapter 50-41. Shengyi, I'm back. A familiar voice drifted over with the wind. Shengyi was stunned for a long time. Although the person walking towards him was unfamiliar and even gave him a wild and unruly feeling, the voice was very familiar. No matter how much a person changed, even if their voice changed, the tone would never change. This tone was the kind of tone one would use when talking to a friend or a grave. My lord. Shengyi was too familiar with Lin Ling. In a short moment, he reacted and rushed over to Lin Ling. Kneeling with a thud, Lin Ling stopped in his tracks. His burly body was like a mountain as he looked at the kneeling Shengyi indifferently. His cold face gradually revealed a smile. The two of them, one standing and one kneeling, were frozen in place. The wind whistled past the yellow sand and time seemed to have stopped at this moment. Two people from another world, after going through life and death, finally reunited in the underworld. Shengyi, it's great to see you. Looking at Shengyi quietly, Lin Ling's eyes were moist and tears fell silently. Even if their appearances and voices had changed, they were still the same people. Lin Ling strode forward and helped Shengyi up. Shengyi was crying his eyes out as he muttered, my lord, my lord. He had known Lin Ling for a long time. They had entered the Dao realm together in Lei Gong's great hall in the void of Jojo. They had faced countless life and death situations together, and had cultivated a deep brotherly relationship. Moreover, every time Lei Gong's great hall was in danger, it was Lin Ling who protected them and led them out of danger. Especially this time when they encountered the Moonlight Clan, he saw how Lin Ling risked his life before he died, and his hair turned white in a single breath. Therefore, when he recovered his memories in the underworld, his first thought was to find Lin Ling. Shengyi. Lin Ling looked at Shengyi. His emotions were still as agitated as ever. My lord, how did you become like this? Furthermore, why did you come out of the Dizong Palace? Shengyi asked excitedly. Lin Ling gave a brief account of what had happened. Although it was simple, Shengyi was still nervous. After all, if Lin Ling died in the Dizong Palace, he might die forever. Who would avenge them then? Although Saint Yi had recovered his memories and even found his physical body, he knew that he still had to rely on Lin Ling if he wanted to escape from the underworld. Shengyi, how did you find your body? Lin Ling asked. Shengyi also gave a rough account of how he had entered the netherworld. It turned out that after that day, Saint Yi was killed by the Moonlight Clan and entered the netherworld. Furthermore, his soul had been cleansed 3 times. However, when Saint Yi became a departed spirit, the Eastern Emperor Bell suddenly appeared and sent back memories to Saint Yi. Guai started searching for a physical body and gradually reached this step. The Eastern Emperor Bell is indeed one of the top 10 divine weapons in the universe. Lin Ling couldn't help but exclaim. He didn't expect the Eastern Emperor Bell to leave behind Saint Yi's memories, avoiding the detection of the netherworld and returning them to Shengyi. However, it was a pity that Shengyi's physical body was an ordinary netherworld bloodline. I don't need a physical body. What I need is a bloodline. When the Eastern Emperor Bell returned my memories, it also gave me a drop of the Eastern Emperor bloodline. Shangyi smiled when he saw Linling frown. He then said happily for Linling, "My lord, now that you have the number one physical body in the universe, you will definitely be able to bring us out of the netherworld in the future. We will definitely leave the netherworld, but before that we have to find everyone." Linling nodded and looked into the distance. There was a burning flame in his eyes. "My lord, this is the pearl of Xitigarbha that I found in the Xitigarbha palace. It is extremely precious. Take it." Shangyi took out a pearl and handed it to Linling. "There are 4 pearls in total. Xin Yu Yuan 1 Bing and I each have 1. Pearl of Xitigarbha? Linling took the pearl and found that it was about the size of a finger. There were mysterious patterns on its surface. It was very magical. However, Linling felt a strong spiritual energy fluctuation in the pearl. This spiritual energy was extremely strange. It seemed to be nether chi. Most importantly, the nether chi was too dense. "This pearl is a treasure." Linling looked up and looked at Shangyi in shock. Shangyi smiled. "Those people who chased after me were after this pearl. However, they were unlucky and were all killed by my lord." "My lord, you can have this pearl." Linling shook his head. This pearl was so precious that Shangyi must have gone through a lot of trouble to get it. He was too embarrassed to take it. "My lord, you don't have to be so polite with me. Only when you become stronger can you lead us out of the underworld. If I become stronger, I can only fight against the underworld." Shangyi saw Linling's rejection and quickly said, "I, Shangyi, am not weak. However, I know very well that I will always be below Lord Linling in this life." After hearing Shangyi's words, Linling hesitated for a moment before accepting the pearl of Xitigarbha. Indeed, he urgently needed to increase his strength. Only then could he lead Shangyi to find the others. "Shangyi, you have been here for so many years. Have you found the whereabouts of the others?" Linling sat down cross-legged and asked. Shangyi shook his head. "The underworld is too big. There are 18 levels of hell, and the highest level of the underworld. We have too many people, almost 100,000. It will be difficult to find them. However, if my lord can obtain the reincarnation of King Yanluo, then you will be able to find their whereabouts from the Book of Death." Hearing this, Linling's eyes lit up. He knew that if he wanted to obtain the Book of Life and Death, the most important thing was to recover his strength. He began to refine the pearl of Xitigarbha while Shangyi protected Linling not far away. He looked at the man sitting cross-legged. The man who looked different from before did not diminish in his excitement. One had to know that the underworld was so big. Finding the people of the past was like finding a needle in a haystack. However, he had met the lord he wanted to find the most. "My lord, you have returned. With your personality, you will definitely be able to bring us back for revenge." Shangyi laughed excitedly. Others might not be able to fight against the ancient races of the universe, but he believed that the lord above him could definitely do it. Linling continued to refine the pearl of Xitigarbha. This pearl contained dense underworld energy. If one was not a god of the underworld, it would be difficult to refine. However, Linling had the number one physical body cultivation technique in the universe and the chaos deity formula. This was not a problem for him. Moreover, his refining speed was incomparably fast. The pearl of Xitigarbha was indeed a great treasure. It continuously increased Linling's cultivation in 3 areas: soul power, cultivation realm, physical body. Chapter 50-42. However, Linling's soul power was strong to begin with, so his progress was not obvious. Instead, his cultivation realm improved the fastest. In the blink of an eye, he had reached the pinnacle of the mid-level celestial realm. He was only a hair's breadth away from becoming a high-level celestial. However, Linling did not cultivate all 8 dantians at the same time this time. He had only reached the required level. This was because he had a feeling that although his physical body was destroyed, as long as he could find a trace of flesh, he could use it to recover his cultivation. Moreover, although he did not have 8 dantians, Linling relied on his physical body in the netherworld. At this moment, with the help of the pearl of Xitigarbha, his physical body was improving rapidly. Gradually, his strength reached 4 billion, the same as before. However, the The Pearl of Xidagarba still had a lot of netherworld energy, which allowed Linling's physical strength to increase rapidly. Gradually it reached 10 billion. On his forehead, the fourth star was born. The body of a 4-star Pangu. Whoosh! Around Linling, who was sitting cross-legged, yellow sand rose into the air and formed a vortex. The area of the vortex was extremely large, as if the entire yellow sand ground had been stirred up by Linling. Rumble! The earth began to shake, causing the netherworld to become unstable. What's going on? There seems to be an old demon cultivating in the north. Let's go and take a look. The yakshas in charge of guarding this realm received the news at this moment and flew in Linling's direction. Rumble! The shaking continued. The huge vortex was like a bottomless pit, sucking in all the yellow sand nearby. However, the shaking gradually weakened. At the same time, a figure floated out from the depths of the vortex. He was bare-chested and had a wild aura. As he walked out, his body kept changing. Silver-white hair slowly grew out. His rugged face gradually became delicate and handsome. His aura gradually turned from wild to cold. My lord! In the distance, Saint Guy looked nervously at the man walking out. When the figure became clearer, he smiled excitedly. The man who walked out was also bare-chested. His muscles were not burly, but they were streamlined. His hair was white, and his aura was as cold as ice. It was Linling's original appearance. Your original appearance is much better. TSK. I, Saint Guy, have traveled the entire universe, and you are the most handsome person I have ever seen. Saint Guy muttered to himself happily. Maybe it was because he worshipped Linling, or maybe it was because Linling was really handsome, but in Saint Gui's eyes, Linling was the most perfect man in the universe. Only such a perfect and flawless man had the qualifications to be the lord above his head. The era of the universe will belong to you, my lord. Saint Guy walked over and knelt down in front of Linling. Not only did his reverence for Linling not decrease, it actually increased. Shangyi, you said that Shin Yu and the others also obtained the Pearl of Xidagarba? Linling asked after experiencing the benefits of the Pearl of Xidagarba. Yes, I think they have too. Saint Guy nodded. Linling's eyes twinkled. His cultivation had reached the early stage of high god, and his physical strength had reached the 10 billion mark. However, he was still far from being able to resist the netherworld. He needed more treasures. What's the strength of the person behind them? Linling asked again. It's the Burning Soul Emperor, Saint Guy replied. He's one of the strongest king-class universe gods. He has 80 billion units of godly energy. Not 1,000. Linling shook his head. In the Tao Tower he had met a super-strong king-class universe god, who had over 1,000 units of godly energy. He didn't expect the one in the netherworld to be so weak. Your Excellency, this is only one of the 18 hells of the netherworld, so the Burning Soul Emperor isn't the strongest of the king-class universe gods. However, he can still dominate the area. Saint Guy said. Alright, let's go find him. Linling's words made Saint Guy tremble. It was as though he had seen the days when Linling had led them to conquer the universe. Who are you? Hey, that's Heita. You escaped from the souls of the dead. You're a major criminal of the netherworld. At this time, a large number of yakshas flew over from afar. When they saw Saint Guy, their killing intent soared. Who are you? Do you know who Heita is? He's a soul of the dead. Without the permission of the netherworld, he cultivated a body without permission. He's a major criminal. You're his accomplice. Now I'll give you a chance. You'll be punished for your crimes. Those yakshas stared at Linling and shouted angrily. Linling couldn't help but smile. He exchanged a glance with Saint Guy and shook his head. Saint Guy might be a major criminal of this level, but they didn't know that Linling was a major criminal of the entire netherworld. Linling didn't bother to say anything more. He and Saint Guy flew forward. You're courting death. Seeing Linling's silence, the yakshas were enraged. But at this time Linling threw a punch forward. The yakshas' expressions changed, and they became vigilant. However, after the punch, everything returned to normal. Deliberately mystifying. The yakshas reacted and laughed disdainfully. They were about to attack. Rumble. But at this time, a terrifying sound wave suddenly erupted. The entire netherworld was affected by this sound. Some souls were even shaken by the sound. Bang! 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 The yakshas in the surroundings exploded under the power of this sound wave. Lin Ling killed hundreds of yakshas with the power of sound waves from his body. From this one could see how terrifying his body was. As for Lin Ling and Shangyi, they flew toward the soul-burning emperor's city. Saint Yi was excited. Lord, you're so strong. No wonder you have the strongest body in the universe. He felt that after Lord Lin Ling obtained Pangu's body, he was reborn. The netherworld wanted to control him. But in reality, it was like releasing a demon. Lord, we're here. After a long time, Saint Yi pointed to the front and said, in the distance there was an ancient city. Cultivators from the netherworld were entering and exiting the city. There were even some souls. However, the souls were like slaves in the city. They were responsible for working for the people in exchange for rewards and slowly cultivating. This is the soul-burning city, Saint Yi said. Lin Ling nodded. His powerful soul power spread out and scanned the entire city. Then, he found that there were no powerful beings that were worthy of his attention. Saint Yi, tell them to get out of the city within the time it takes 3 incense sticks to burn, Lin Ling said to Saint Yi. Saint Yi understood and quickly flew forward. Then he shouted, people of the soul-burning city, listen up. You have 3 incense sticks to burn to get out of the city. Otherwise, all of you will die. His voice was loud and clear. Everyone in the city narrowed their eyes. Destroy the city? This person is so arrogant. At the same time, the soul-burning emperor also heard the voice. His eyes turned cold as he walked out with a large number of powerful beings. Chapter 50-43. Let's go and meet them. The soul-burning emperor's face was cold as he led a large number of experts out of the ancient city. Then they saw a burly man floating above the city, looking down at them. Emperor, this is Heita. He has the pearl of Xitigarbha. Shen Yu said to the soul-burning emperor. Shen Yu was weaker than the soul-burning emperor, so no matter how arrogant he was, he did not dare to go against the soul-burning emperor. It's you. The soul-burning emperor stared at Shangyi and frowned. Go capture him. Then he said to an expert behind him. At this moment, a man was hiding in the yellow sand far away from the soul-burning city. When he saw Shangyi, his expression changed slightly. I didn't expect Heita to still be alive. He should have run away after getting the pearl of Xitigarbha. Why did he come to the soul-burning city to die? He was one of the original team members, Yuan Wenbing. He had also gotten the pearl of Xitigarbha, but he was unwilling to hand it over, so he had been avoiding the soul-burning emperor. As the saying went, the most dangerous place was also the safest place. Everyone thought that he had run far away, but he was actually hiding in the vicinity of the soul-burning city. Die! Shangyi sneered when he saw the experts flying out from the sky. He activated the Donghuang bell and suppressed them. He had always been afraid of being discovered by the netherworld, so he rarely used the Donghuang bell. But now that Lin Ling had returned, he was no longer afraid of anything. Rumble! The gods were unable to resist the suppression of the Donghuang bell, and were smashed into meat paste. What power! The soul-burning emperor and the others were shocked, especially the soul-burning emperor. He stared greedily at the Donghuang bell as if he wanted to take it for himself. How dare you kill the soul-burning emperor's men? Shen Yu shouted and was about to attack, but the soul-burning emperor stopped her. He looked at Shangyi and said, You're quite strong. Are you interested in following me? As long as you follow me, the pearl of Xitigarbha will belong to you. You can do whatever you want in this level of hell. Ha ha ha. Hearing this, Shangyi laughed. His laughter was filled with disdain. If he recovered his strength, these people wouldn't even have the right to talk to him. Trying to recruit him? Only they could think of such a thing. You want to be my lord? You're not qualified. Besides, I've already found my lord. Shangyi said proudly after laughing in disdain. Your lord? The burning soul emperor frowned. He didn't like Shangyi's attitude. He was looking down on him too much. Shangyi also looked behind him and saw a white-haired man floating there, coldly looking at everyone. The man was very cold. And the strange thing was that if Saint Guy hadn't pointed him out, they wouldn't have noticed him at all. It's him. At the same time, Yuan Wenbing's expression changed drastically. Wasn't this the arrogant soul Fangs? He actually made it out alive. Moreover, when had he become a lord of the Black Tower? He remembered that Fangs was the weakest existence in the team. This guy is too crazy. In the Dizong Palace, no one dared to touch him because he had the map fragment. After coming out, he still dares to act recklessly. It seems like he's used to being arrogant and won't change anytime soon. Yuan Wenbing shook his head and said, "It's you, Fangs." Shen Yu recognized Lin Ling almost as soon as Yuan Wenbing recognized him. Her expression was full of shock. "Shen Yu, you know him?" The Burning Soul Emperor looked at Shen Yu and asked. "Of course I know him." Shen Yu nodded excitedly. "He's just a very arrogant soul. When he entered the Dizong Palace that day, he relied on the map fragment to act arrogantly. However, I didn't expect this guy to still be so arrogant after coming out." "Soul? You mean a reincarnated soul? What the hell? A reincarnated soul dares to be so arrogant? Where's his physical body? He dares to challenge us without a physical body." A large number of gods around the Burning Soul Emperor laughed with disdain. They weren't souls but gods born in the underworld. They had a physical body and could cultivate the underworld's cultivation techniques. In their eyes, souls were just slaves. Ha ha ha, Black Tower. Don't tell me that the slave without a physical body is your lord. Are you blind? Or am I blind? The soul-burning emperor lord asked Shang Yi after laughing heartily. "You're all courting death." Saint Yi's face turned cold. They could laugh at him, but not at his lord. "I guess the Black Tower is blind." Shen Yu flew out and walked slowly towards Lin Ling. He smiled faintly and said, "Fangs, I've always been curious. From the first time you saw me, you wanted to kill me. What's going on? If I remember correctly, you and I should be the first. Let's meet again." In the sky, Lin Ling's white hair fluttered in the wind. His expression was cold as he stared at Shen Yu. His eyes were filled with dense killing intent. Shen Yu, a god of the Silver Moon race, how could he not want to kill him? He didn't say anything and suddenly punched out. Rumble. This punch exploded the sky and flew past Shen Yu, causing Shen Yu to be stunned. A mere soul dared to attack her? No, the punch wasn't aimed at him but at the other side. What was Fangs doing? Was he deliberately mystifying things? Shen Yu didn't believe that a soul like Fangs could be powerful. Rumble. However, at this moment, a terrifying explosion came from behind him. A ferocious gust of wind blew at Shen Yu's hair, causing his expression to freeze. Then he turned around in disbelief and saw the most unbelievable scene in his life. That was because the vast Burning Soul City had been destroyed by a single punch. There were countless casualties. It was estimated that hundreds of thousands of people had been killed by that single punch. Save me. What's going on? Some of the more powerful people had escaped death, but at this moment they couldn't react. Then they all looked up at Lin Ling, especially the Burning Soul Emperor. His pupils constricted and his heart was beating rapidly. A single punch had killed most of his people? You're courting death. The Burning Soul Emperor and the others were furious. They all pounced on Lin Ling and attacked Lin Ling one after another. Shen Yu was still frozen in midair. Perhaps things had happened too quickly, so fast that he couldn't react. After the Burning Soul Emperor and the others rushed toward Lin Ling, they all exploded with powerful strength. It was as if the sky was falling and the earth was splitting. Even if there were a king-tier cosmic giant god here, not many people could stop them. The dazzling light and fierce wind blew at Shen Yu's hair. He was still frozen in place, unable to react. Rumble. Shen Yu's eyes flashed when the powerful attacks ended. He completely woke up. That's right, Fangs had indeed destroyed a city with a single punch and killed many gods. Chapter 50-44. Thinking of this, Shen Yu stared ahead and saw a white-haired man floating in the sky. He had his hands behind his back and was motionless. All the previous attacks had landed on him, but not only was he not injured, he was also completely unharmed. Not dead. How could a soul have such power? One had to know that souls were afraid of light, cold, and sunlight. Even if a soul was more powerful, it would only be able to resist more attacks. However, the defense of the soul was naturally weaker than the physical body. This was something that everyone knew. Could it be? Shun Yu's pupils trembled violently as she suddenly shouted, "It's a physical body, a physical body." What a physical body? Soul-burning Emperor and the others were also trembling. This was the first time they had seen such a terrifying physical body. Previously, they had mocked Yadu for not having a physical body, but now Yadu's physical body had given them a hard slap. "Senior, I was impulsive before. I hope you can forgive me." Soul-burning Emperor pondered for a moment, then immediately bowed and apologized. When the others saw this, they knew that they had met a powerful god and hurriedly bowed and apologized. Seeing this, Shun Yu, who had just regained her composure, froze in the sky again. Lin Ling had his hands behind his back as he walked step by step toward Soul-burning Emperor and the others. Now, he had the #1 physical body in the universe and was also a 4-star Pangu. How could these insignificant universe gods hurt him? He arrived in front of Soul-burning Emperor and looked down at him. "You want my people to become your people?" Soul-burning Emperor trembled. Previously, he had wanted to recruit Shangyi, but now it seemed that he was not qualified. "Me," Soul-burning Emperor said anxiously. However, just as he said the word "me," Lin Ling punched him. Boom! Soul-burning Emperor's body exploded, and he could not be more dead. Unlike Shen Yu and Shangyi, he was a god born and bred in the underworld. They were both gods who had forcibly taken over other people's bodies to cultivate, but they still couldn't withstand a single punch from Lin Ling. Great Emperor! All of the gods trembled when they saw that the Burning Soul Emperor had been killed by a single punch. The Burning Soul Emperor is very close to the Yaksha King. Someone said uneasily. Soul-burning Emperor was able to walk freely in this level of hell, because he had the support of Yaksha King. Boom! Lin Ling did not even look at him and killed him with one punch. Cold. Extremely cold. Everyone was trembling. They were so afraid that they did not dare to resist. Bang bang bang. Lin Ling's fists continued to blast out, ending the lives of these gods. Then he walked step by step toward Shun Yu. And when Shun Yu saw Lin Ling walking over, he was so scared that he couldn't say a word. It was too scary, so scary that he didn't dare to resist at all. Only when did Yadu become so strong? In the previous trip to Dizong Palace, if he wanted to kill Yadu, it would be a piece of cake. Yadu I Shen Yu Shen Shen He Shen Yu He Shen 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 Yu Shen. Yayu. However, Yayu Shan Shen Yu. Lin hearing Lin Ling's words. Shen Yu could only raise his head and look at Lin Ling nervously. Lin Ling's appearance was clearly reflected in his eyes and even in his heart. It had to be said that Lin Ling was not ugly. Compared to the strange appearances of the underworld gods, he was extremely handsome. However, Lin Ling was very cold. It was as if his entire body was formed by killing intent and ice. The most terrifying thing was that Lin Ling had a physical body and not a soul. After taking a look, Shen Yu did not dare to look again. He looked away. Lin Ling's coldness was truly terrifying. "You are afraid of me," Lin Ling said coldly. "I am." Although Shen Yu did not say anything, his expression said it all. "Do you know why I have such a strong killing intent towards you?" Lin Ling said again. His words made Shen Yu very curious. After all, when Yadu was still a soul, he was already full of murderous intent. This murderous intent was very deep, and Shen Yu could feel that it was an irreconcilable hatred. "Because you are from the Silver Moon race. Your ancient race of the universe killed all my friends, my wife, and my family. Therefore, when I see you, I cannot wait to kill you," Lin Ling said coldly. "I, Lin Ling, admit that I am not a good person. I have killed countless people. However, every debt has its debtor. When I kill a murderer, as long as the murderer's family and friends do not help me, I will not touch them. However, the Yin Wang Guang of the Silver Moon race is exterminated. There is no principle to speak of." "Ah, the Silver Moon race?" Shen Yu shouted. "I really don't know what Yin Wang Guang is. I also don't know about the Silver Moon race." After he entered the underworld, his memories had long disappeared. Naturally, he did not know who Yin Wang Guang was. Then his eyes trembled violently. Yadu actually knew about the Silver Moon race and Yin Wang Guang. Could it be that he had memories? A soul with memories? How could this be possible? His heart was pounding nonstop. Only now did he know that Yadu was not an ordinary person. Lord Yadu, I am innocent. I don't even have memories. Although I am from the Silver Moon race, I definitely did not participate in that matter when I was alive. Shen Yu kept begging for mercy. Lin Ling looked at him indifferently. His eyes were still cold. Who could be sure that Shen Yu was not that group of people? After all, at that time, Lin Ling had also killed many people from the Silver Moon race when he fought back. Even if he was not, so what? Yin Wangguang could kill Lin Ling's family and friends because he wanted to kill him. He Lin Ling could do the same. There was no right or wrong in this matter. There was only a difference in position and strength. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being from the Silver Moon race. Lin Ling muttered to himself and punched out. Don't! Shen Yu shouted, but his body still exploded in the end. Lin Ling looked at the dead Shen Yu with cold eyes. He then looked into the distance and sneered. Yin Wangguang, now that I have begun to grow, I will definitely find you soon. Wait for me. Lord, I found another pearl of Xidagarba on them. At this time Shangyi flew over. Lin Ling took the pearl of Xidagarba and left with Shangyi. Now there was probably no one he knew on this level of hell. He had to go to the next level to find Yu and the others. Yadu is actually so strong. After Lin Ling and the others left, Yuan Wenbing trembled on the yellow sand. He thought of Yadu in the Xidagarba palace and the current Yadu. He never expected that among the people who had entered the Xidagarba palace, those who had died and those who had been injured, the one who had luckily escaped was Yadu. Especially when he thought of Yadu killing a group of gods with a single punch, he was even more shocked. This was something he could not do. Perhaps he would never be able to do it in this lifetime. Chapter 50-45. Holding the pearl of Xidagarba in his hand, Lin Ling sat on the scorching desert. Gradually, his body sank into the desert and disappeared. A huge sand whirlpool appeared and engulfed Lin Ling. My lord! Seeing Lin Ling disappear, Shangyi couldn't help but smile. He flew back to Soul Ceiling City and started looting the corpses of the dead. But at this time there were some who wanted to take advantage of the situation. But when they saw Shangyi, they were all shocked and quickly ran away. Senior, you come, you come. They had seen from afar that the lord above this white-haired man's head was so powerful that he could destroy Soul-Burning City with a single punch, including the Soul-Burning Emperor. It could be said that no one could withstand a single punch from the white-haired man. Now, how could they dare to fight with the white-haired man for the spoils of war? At least you know what's good for you. Shangyi ignored them and started searching for treasures in the city. After Lin Ling sank into the ground, he continued to refine the pearl of Xidagarba. His cultivation realm gradually reached the peak of the higher god realm, and he was only a step away from the giant god realm. His physical strength had increased from 10 billion to 18 billion, and he had finally attained the 5-star Panga body. But the power of the pearl of Xidagarba didn't weaken. It was still increasing, and Lin Ling's physical strength gradually reached 36 billion. This was the body of a 6-star Pangu. Time passed slowly. After a long time, Lin Ling floated up from the underground whirlpool. 6 stars hung on his forehead. My lord! When Lin Ling came out, Shangyi was already waiting for him. And Lin Ling could sense that Shangyi's strength had increased. My lord, where are we going next? Shangyi looked at Lin Ling happily. He could also sense that Lin Ling's aura had changed. It was much stronger than before. To find King Yanluo. Lin Ling pondered and then said. Now that his strength had increased greatly, and he had recovered almost 80% of his strength, he could probably fight King Yanluo. All right. Shangyi immediately nodded and left with Lin Ling. Shangyi was very familiar with this level of hell, so he brought Lin Ling along. After a long time, a rolling whirlpool appeared in front of them, forming an incomparably huge sandstorm. Everything within the sandstorm could not be seen clearly. There was only one path leading into the sandstorm, but that path was heavily guarded. Yakshas were constantly escorting the souls of the dead into the sandstorm. These souls of the dead were criminals, just like Lin Ling when he first came to the netherworld. Moreover, other than the souls of the dead, There were many more in this prison of hell. As long as any god committed a mistake, they would all be imprisoned here. However, it was clear that this prison was not very advanced, so the prisoners were not strong. Of course, the yakshas guarding the prison were not strong either. My lord, this is the prison of this level of hell. King Yanluo is the Night King Yanluo. In front of the rolling sandstorm, Shangyi said to Lin Ling, if you want to enter here, the only way is through the gate. However, if you go there, you will inevitably be discovered. Enter through the sandstorm and find King Yanluo first. Think of a way to find out the whereabouts of Yu and the rest. If we get the news, we will wreak havoc in the prison and then leave. Lin Ling looked ahead and said, enter through the sandstorm? I heard that the sandstorm around this prison is even more terrifying than the one in Dizong Palace. Shangyi's expression changed. Lin Ling looked ahead quietly, constantly estimating the power of the sandstorm. He nodded and said, I think we can enter. With that, he rushed into the sandstorm with Shangyi. Rumble. The sandstorm here was incomparably terrifying. It was like a knife, and every grain of sand contained the might of the universe. Clang! Clang! When the sand hit Lin Ling's body, it produced a metallic sound. However, Lin Ling couldn't block the blade-like sandstorm. His body was cut open, and fresh blood dripped from his body. However, Lin Ling's expression didn't change. Under Lin Ling's protection, Shangyi was safe. However, when he heard the rumbling outside, he was extremely worried about Lin Ling. Lin Ling didn't say a word. Blood poured out of his body, and then the sandstorm tore his blood apart and turned him into nothingness. After an unknown amount of time, the heavy feeling in his body finally disappeared. His vision suddenly opened up. He saw a huge mine in the middle of the sandstorm, and he could vaguely see a large number of people mining there. And in the middle of the mine, there was a palace made of black rock. He's out. At this moment, Shangyi reacted and couldn't help but let out a light breath. When he looked at Lin Ling, he saw that Lin Ling was covered in blood and jumped in fright. Sir! Shangyi anxiously shouted. I'm fine. Lin Ling smiled and shook his head. The wounds on his body were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Penga's body, defense, and recovery were both top-notch. As long as he didn't die, he could quickly recover from any injuries. Sir, your injuries? Shangyi was incomparably shocked. Lin Ling's injuries had healed in the blink of an eye. This speed was too fast. Lin Ling was still looking ahead, searching with his powerful soul force. Finally, he found a huge crystal rhombus-shaped stone in the palace. Lin Ling's eyes narrowed, and he investigated even more. Soon he discovered that there was a mysterious aura coming from the rhombus-shaped stone. He guessed that the rhombus-shaped stone recorded the whereabouts of countless souls. It was similar to the 3 Lives stone, which recorded the soul's 3 lives in 3 lifetimes. If I'm not wrong, this is the thing I'm looking for. Lin Ling withdrew his soul force and looked around. He found a large number of souls mining, and the ores were extremely precious. It seemed like they were being sent to another underworld. If he could obtain it, Lin Ling was confident that his body strength would increase again. But for now, Lin Ling didn't want to act too quickly. This was because he discovered that there were many underworld powerhouses in the main hall of the palace. Yama King was a white-haired old man. He wore a large cloak and held the Book of Life and Death in his hand. Weak. Lin Ling waited there with Shangyi. At the same time, in the main hall, the white-haired old man frowned. Earlier, he had sensed a strange force attacking him. It was very strange, but when he carefully investigated, he didn't discover anything. Could it be my misperception? The old man muttered to himself. Then, he ignored it and said, Men, is the underworld ore ready? Sir, it's ready, but the aura of the underworld ore is too strong. Hundreds of people have already died in the process. A Yaksha king respectfully replied. Send the underworld riders to send them off. The old man waved his hand and said. Everyone accepted the order and left. The old man walked to a corner of the palace and looked at the huge rhombus-shaped stone. Then he muttered to himself, It's shown in the life and death stone. It won't be long before another batch of souls comes. He sat down cross-legged and slowly cultivated. After an unknown period of time, a figure suddenly appeared outside the window. The old man opened his eyes and stared at that person. His expression changed instantly. Chapter 50-46. Who are you? The old man stood up abruptly, his aura surging. This was hell's prison. How could random people enter? Moreover, he had been in the underworld for many years, and this was the first time he had seen someone barge into hell. King Yanluo, right? I only have one request. I want the stone that records souls. Deal. The newcomer walked into the hall and spoke coldly. At the same time, the old man saw that this person had a head of white hair and wore a black robe. He was incomparably cold as ice. Most importantly, the killing intent on his body was extremely dense, as if it had materialized. Stone that records souls? Insolent. This is a life and death stone. There are only 62 pieces in the entire underworld. How dare you touch it? Hearing this, the old man angrily shouted. The aura of King Yanluo rolled out. Since Senior is unwilling, then don't blame me. The white-haired man lightly shook his head and walked forward step by step. His body didn't seem tall, but it seemed as if he had turned into a giant. You're courting death. The old man coldly shouted, men. However, no matter how much he shouted, no one could hear him. This was because the entire hall was sealed by the white-haired man's soul force. Bang! The white-haired man and the old man collided, causing the entire hall to tremble. Impossible! My divine force is so powerful, why aren't you afraid of it? Could it be that your body is invincible against divine force? Moreover, your attack doesn't contain any divine force. Why is it so powerful? This is your physical strength. The old man's frightened voice came from the hall, but it soon quieted down. Time seemed to have stopped. Looking carefully, the old man was frozen on the spot. The white-haired man walked past the tables and chairs and slowly came to a corner of the hall. He picked up the rhombus-shaped crystal stone and began to investigate it. Break for me, the white-haired man said in a low voice. His fist landed on the crystal stone, shattering it. Then, countless fragments floated up and revolved around the man, gradually disappearing. The man was using his soul force to refine the crystal stone. After a long time, the man opened his eyes. There were whirlpools in his eyes. All the information about the crystal stone poured into his mind. Found it. The white-haired man revealed an excited smile. Although he had not found his family, he had met a few friends. After that, the white-haired man stood up and left with large strides. The hall was still silent, and only the dead old man was still standing on the ground without moving. A moment later, the white-haired man came to the balcony and looked down at the countless mineral veins below. With a single step, he disappeared from the spot. The white-haired man appeared in the mine. He stopped in his tracks, and endless amounts of nether ore floated up and swirled around him. Refine. The man growled as he continued to refine the nether ores. Gradually, his entire body was covered in nether ores. What happened? In the mine, all the miners were shocked, but they didn't dare to get too close to the man. After all, the nether ore here was too strong, and they would be in danger if they got too close. Usually, when they were mining, they would only bring along a small ore each. How would they dare to approach so many ores at once? Milord. Gradually, some yakshas arrived and looked at the scene in shock. A few powerful underworld knights also appeared. They were riding tall horses and wearing heavy armor. They were also looking at the vast pile of nether ores. For a moment, they didn't understand what had happened, and they felt extremely strange. Not good, Lord Yanluo is dead. But at this moment, a voice came from the palace, causing the entire prison to panic. Lord Yanluo is dead, what happened? I wonder who killed His Excellency King Yanluo without anyone noticing. This person's strength is too strong. After so many years in the underworld, this is the first time someone dared to attack Lord Yanluo. Voices kept coming, and the yakshas and underworld generals looked serious. They naturally knew that this matter was going to shake the underworld. After all, no one had dared to kill Lord Yanluo in the underworld for so many years. After all, this was equivalent to provoking the entire underworld. No matter who it was, in a place like the underworld, could they go against the entire underworld? Could it be him? Suddenly, a Yaksha king looked at the pile of nether ores in front of him. This time, everyone looked at the pile of nether ores with a serious expression and murderous intent. However, when they thought of Lord Yenlua's death, the underworld generals didn't dare to act rashly. Boom! But at this moment the nether ores exploded, and a white-haired man walked out. His body was surrounded by dense fog, making him look like a dream. His aura was extremely strange. It looked ordinary, but it gave people an extremely grand and ancient feeling. You are the one who killed Lord Yenluo? A underworld general said solemnly. Although his voice was majestic, the demon horse he was sitting on trembled when it saw the white-haired man. They stared at the white-haired man, unable to believe it. After all, who in the underworld would dare to kill Lord Yenluo and cultivate in the nether ores? For a moment, everyone looked at the white-haired man and didn't speak for a long time. The white-haired man looked at the crowd indifferently, but his eyes were calm, as if he was looking at a group of ants. Die! Finally, the white-haired man spoke. When he spoke, it was as if he had announced the line between life and death. All the yakshas and underworld generals trembled. Even if they were backed by the underworld, even if they were powerful, they still felt their scalps go numb when the white-haired man said the word, die. Who is this person? Is he really going against the underworld? As for the prisoners in the mine, they looked at this scene uneasily. But at this moment, the white-haired man finally made his move. He had already obtained the life and death stone, so everything else had nothing to do with him. Boom! 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 He punched out continuously, and with every punch several yakshas died. He even blew up the underworld cavalry with a punch, killing both the rider and the horse. The scene turned into a one-sided massacre. Countless prisoners looked at this scene and trembled in shock. However, the one-sided massacre ended as quickly as it started. In less than 3 incense sticks time, all the yakshas and underworld generals were killed. The white-haired man brought a burly man with him and strode out of the prison, taking away a lot of nether ores. Ah, who are you? How dare you cause a ruckus in the prison? This is hell. Who gave you the guts to cause a ruckus in hell? Along the way they naturally encountered many yakshas and underworld soldiers. However, they were all killed by the white-haired man with a punch. A path to the outside world was successfully opened, and all the underworld soldiers in hell prison were killed. Free, we are free. Kill. 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 In hell prison all the prisoners gradually came to their senses. Then they rushed out of the prison with murderous intent. Hell prison was destroyed, and the underworld was in chaos. Lord, haha, interesting. Chapter 50-47. Walking along the yellow sand, Lin Ling's mood finally improved. Ever since the incident at the Dao Tower, Lin Ling had been suppressing a knot in his heart. He was afraid that everyone would disappear. He was also afraid that it would be difficult for him to make a comeback. But now, after his hard work, he was finally getting stronger. He was even beginning to find the people of the past. Previously, when he looted the underworld and hell, his physical body strength had reached 60 billion. If he used the Panga strike, his strength would reach 120 billion. Moreover, he would also have 100% speed boost and godly power, making him invincible. Therefore, the King of Hell was no match for Lin Ling. With Lin Ling's current strength, it was not much different from back then. The only difference was that he did not have the 8 dantians. If he could find the 8 dantians that he had lost back then, Lin Ling's strength could increase even more. Lin Ling continued to move forward with Saint Yi. After a long time he arrived at a market. There were all kinds of people here. There were gods of the underworld and many souls. However, the departed souls that could appear here were all existences that had committed all sorts of crimes. Found it. Looking at the lively market in front of him, Lin Ling could not help but smile. He had refined the life and death stone, so he naturally knew the whereabouts of Emperor Xuanqiu and the others. Just like the mark of the underworld that was sealed in Lin Ling's body, the underworld could find Lin Ling's whereabouts through the life and death stone. Even many unrelated souls could be found by Lin Ling. He could know their origins, whereabouts, and so on. Lin Ling's soul was strong enough. Otherwise, He would not have been able to devour so much information. Saint Yi, do it, Lin Ling said to Saint Yi. Saint Yi nodded excitedly and activated the Donghuang bell to suppress the market. Rumble. This suppression did not kill anyone. It was just to prevent unrelated people from meddling. The effect was very good. When the Donghuang bell appeared, the faces of the people in the market changed drastically. After dodging the attack, they saw Lin Ling and Saint Yi walking over. They did not dare to breathe loudly. Him and those people. Lin Ling said to Saint Yi as he swept his gaze across the crowd. Come out. Saint Gui smiled excitedly and hurried over to those people. What is the meaning of this? Those who were pointed at by Lin Ling had vigilant looks on their faces, as if they were deeply afraid of being killed by Lin Ling. Don't worry, we're friends. I'm here to save you today, Shang Yi explained. However, the more he explained, the more nervous those people became, because everyone who wanted to kill them said the same thing. Seeing this, Lin Ling shook his head and didn't waste any time. He released his powerful soul power and enveloped those people. Then he forcefully stuffed the memories in the life and death stone into their souls. The life and death stone not only recorded the past and present lives of the soul, but also recorded when and where the soul was reincarnated, including the memories of each life. It was a precious treasure of the underworld. The Yama King of the underworld was able to control the souls of the underworld because he had the stone of life and death. Since Lin Ling had swallowed the life and death stone, he naturally possessed everything within it. Those people's souls trembled in pain as their memories were forcefully stuffed into them. The onlookers sucked in a breath of cold air. What was going on? I'm Great Emperor Xuanxu. Lin Ling, it's you. However, a moment later, one of the souls let out a loud roar and looked at Lin Ling excitedly. Lord Lin Ling, Great Emperor Xuanxu. The others gradually regained their senses and their faces were filled with shock. Found you. Lin Ling smiled faintly. Ha 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 ha, I have my memories. Everything that I lost is back. Great Emperor Xuanxu looked at the people around him and danced with joy. The surrounding people's faces changed drastically. They could clearly see Great Emperor Xuanxu hugging an enemy. One should know that not long ago they were life and death enemies. But now they were as close as brothers. Memories, they actually obtained their memories of the past. Before they obtained their memories, they were life and death enemies. But after they obtained their memories, they realized that they were on the same side. How can the souls of the underworld possess their memories? The surrounding people gradually reacted and shouted in horror. You will have your memories too. Lin Ling smiled faintly as he looked at them. His soul force spread out, found a large amount of memories, and forcefully stuffed them into everyone's souls. Relax, if you want your memories, then let me handle it. Lin Ling's voice floated out at the same time. Those souls wanted to resist, but gradually, they allowed Lin Ling to do as he wished. Everyone wanted to regain their memories of the past. As long as their memories were restored, they would know a lot of cultivation methods. If they could find a physical body, it was possible to restore their strength. My memories are restored. I am from the Tung family village. Dead and resurrected, dead and resurrected. Damn the underworld, you want to control us? Dream on. After a long time, everyone regained their memories. When they recalled the bits and pieces of their past, they all shouted excitedly. The underworld had robbed them of their memories. Now that they had finally regained their memories, they naturally wouldn't let the underworld take back their memories. While they were excited, Lin Ling had already led everyone away. Lin Ling, how did you find us? Great Emperor Xuanxu and the others were still very excited. When they saw Lin Ling, it was as if they had seen their family. Back then they had gone through life and death together. Now that they had met again, their feelings for each other were even deeper. Moreover, they didn't expect Lin Ling to be so powerful that he could escape from the underworld shackles and find them. They rejoiced because they knew Lin Ling. After all, without Lin Ling, they could only reincarnate and become mortals. Sure enough, everything was different when they followed Lin Ling. It's a long story. Let's find the others first, Lin Ling said with a smile. He had already decided to find the others first, then find a physical body for them to restore their strength. Finally, they could escape from the underworld. It was like being resurrected from the dead and escaping from the underworld's control. "My lord, we have to find our people and restore their memories." "That's what we must do. But why did we restore the memories of those people from before?" Saint Guy asked curiously. Hearing that, Lin Ling explained with a smile, "Now that this level of hell is in chaos, the underworld will know about us sooner or later. To prevent the underworld from targeting us, we need the water of this level of hell to make it even more chaotic." "My lord is right." Saint Guy and the others were enlightened. Before long, Lin Ling found many of his friends and restored their memories. Then, he released his powerful soul power and restored the memories of all the dead souls in this level of hell. Kill. Ha ha ha, I Hu Han-san am alive again. The underworld is nothing. Today I will wreak havoc in the underworld. This level of hell was completely destroyed. Not only were there criminals released by Lin Ling, but all the dead souls had also recovered their memories. They went on a killing spree, killing everyone in the underworld. Chapter 50-48. The Silver Moon Clan was related to the underworld. Therefore Yin Wangguang could enter and leave the underworld at will. After all, the Silver Moon God ancestor was extremely powerful. Even the underworld had to give him some face. Lin Ling has reincarnated. We have not found his reincarnation location yet. I estimate that it will be 100 years later. The deities of the underworld looked at each other, and one of the kings of hell said faintly, "Ha ha ha, reincarnated? Do you know what he is now?" Hearing that, Yin Wangguang's eyes were filled with sinister light and he could not help but laugh. Although Lin Ling was dead, he had sworn that he would not let Lin Ling off even in death. He would torture Lin Ling forever and play him in the palm of his hand. "Beast path." The king of hell said calmly. "Ha ha, beast. That's great." Yin Wangguang laughed even louder and crazier. In the end he kept coughing. Obviously he was extremely happy and satisfied. "Since he is a beast, I will let him off in this life and let him suffer the pain of reincarnation. I will come and see him again in 100 years. After laughing, Yin Wangguang seemed to be talking to himself. "Your Excellency, as the saying goes, a dead man is like a lamp being extinguished. Lin Ling is dead and he is no longer a deity. Why not let him go?" The king of hell advised after thinking for a while. This was the first time he had seen someone with such deep hatred. Even in death, he would not let him off. Let him off. Yin Wangguang's pupils constricted, and his face turned ferocious. "Impossible. He killed my son. I want him to be tortured for eternity. Not only him, but all of his family and friends will be tortured. Right, I know that he has a universe in which he is. There are still some people hidden in it. Ha ha ha, I will find them sooner or later and kill them all." Sigh. Hearing that, the king of hell sighed. He knew how ruthless Yin Wangguang was. Of course, the reason why he advised Yin Wangguang was not that he wanted Yin Wangguang to stop. It was because Lin Ling's fate was unknown. Therefore, he wanted Yin Wangguang to stop pursuing Lin Ling. "If your son dies alone, countless people will be buried with him. Sigh, this goes against the harmony of the universe." That Yama King said again. "Humph, I asked you to find my son's soul. But you said that my son's soul was destroyed and he died forever. I haven't settled this with the underworld yet." Yin Wangguang snorted and strode away. "I'll be back in 100 years. At that time you can let Lin Ling reincarnate as a mortal. I'll torture him." As the voice drifted out, the silvery light gradually disappeared. Upon seeing this, the gods of the underworld revealed a troubled expression. Now that Lin Ling's whereabouts were unknown, and his soul had probably dissipated, how were they going to hand him over after 100 years? 100 years later. I'll just say that Lin Ling's soul was erased by an expert. Hopefully, Yin Wangguang will be appeased. Looks like it's going to be difficult. Let's talk about it after 100 years. Now that the local hell is in chaos, the prison has been broken, and countless evil souls have rushed out. Moreover, the life and death stone in the prison has been taken away by an expert, causing countless souls in hell to have memories. This is going to be troublesome. We need to mobilize the underworld general to suppress them. We must trap them in that level of hell. Otherwise, if they get separated, things will be even more troublesome. I don't know who did it. He's too bold. The underworld will definitely not let him off. The gods of the underworld continued to discuss with furrowed brows, looking extremely worried. At this moment on the rolling yellow sand, a large number of people were walking forward on the scorching yellow sand. These people all had physical bodies and weren't afraid of the heat. Lord, that's the gate to another level of hell. One of them pointed ahead and said. He was Saint Guy. In front of them, yellow sand was flowing and waves of heat were blowing against their faces. The air was also surging, but they could vaguely see a huge gate. The gate was carved out of mottled rocks and was a few thousand miles tall and 1,000 miles wide. It was extremely majestic. In front of the gate, a large number of underworld experts were guarding it. The security was even tighter than usual. There were underworld soldiers, underworld generals, underworld knights, and even an underworld general. In front of the gate, countless souls were piled up like a mountain. They were densely packed and wanted to rush out of the gate to another level of hell. Now these departed souls all had memories and knew that this level of hell had been sealed. It wouldn't be long before the experts of the netherworld would come and wipe out all the souls. Therefore they had to escape, cultivate, and grow stronger so that they could escape from the netherworld. However, the experts guarding the gate to the underworld were too powerful. They couldn't rush out. Lord, more and more souls are coming. There are billions of them. This level of hell has completely collapsed. I think it's time for the great reshuffle. Under the gate, a man in armor stood there. He had a powerful aura. He was the underworld general. The underworld general's strength was only below King Yen Luo. He was extremely powerful. Someone beside him said respectfully, "Damn souls. Why didn't they just wait for their reincarnation? Why did they have to cause trouble? Now that the great reshuffle has begun, all of their souls will be destroyed." The pitiful thing is that some souls who are about to reincarnate are also implicated. After all, the great reshuffle has begun. Because all souls will be destroyed regardless of good or bad. The man said coldly, "Lord, now that many souls have killed the underworld gods and killed many underworld soldiers, they have cultivated their physical bodies. Their strength is not to be underestimated. It will be difficult for us to stop the attack." The underworld soldier said again, "What's there to be afraid of? They're just punks. Without 100 years of cultivation, they won't be able to cultivate anything. Now that they are attacking, they won't be able to break through this gate." The man said disdainfully. A good wine appeared in his hand. He drank it calmly. At the same time, he ordered the underworld soldiers to attack the souls in front of the gate. Of course, this attack was just a drop in the bucket. After all, there were too many souls. They couldn't kill all of them. They could only use the great reshuffle of the underworld. "Open for me." However, at this moment, more than 100 figures flew in the sky and attacked the gate of the underworld. The leader was a white-haired man. His aura was extremely powerful. He was like a giant. Oh no, souls with physical bodies. Seeing more than 100 people, the underworld soldiers at the gate frowned. The underworld commander who was drinking threw down his wine bottle and shouted, "How dare you attack me? Kill them. How dare you?" Hearing his voice, a large number of underworld generals rushed out. Reverse break. However, a cold voice came from the sky. Then, a terrifying soul power turned into a universe and sealed everything. Bang! 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 The souls of the underworld generals who attacked were all sealed. They fell from the sky and were dead. Then, a large number of souls took over their physical bodies. What? The underworld commander's face changed. So strong? He suddenly enlarged. He had 3 heads and 6 arms. Moreover, his 6 arms were extremely long, reaching 1,000 miles. He attacked the white-haired man. Panga strike, primeval strike. The white-haired man shouted and threw out a punch. It exploded the air and wreaked havoc in hell. Chapter 50-49. Ah! Why is my god power ineffective against you? The netherworld commander shouted. Then he thought of something and rushed to the stone door. Seal! Seal this level of hell. Don't let anyone in or out. Go. Hearing that, the Netherworld soldiers guarding the door were shocked. If the door was sealed, even they would not be able to get out. However, they had no choice but to seal this level of hell. After all, if these dead souls escaped, the entire Netherworld would be in chaos. Rumble. At the same time, the stone door emitted a black light that fell from the sky like rain. It was extremely fast. Wherever the black light passed, the aura of the stone door was sealed. It was like a dead object. Oh no! The door is about to be sealed. Seeing this scene, the countless dead souls roared loudly. Ha ha ha! All of you have to die! All of you have to die! In front of the door, the Netherworld commander looked like he had gone mad. Swoosh! However, at this moment a strong wind surged. A figure shot toward the door at the speed of light. It was too fast. It was beyond imagination. The Nether general simply couldn't react. The Nether soldiers that were responsible for sealing the door were still sneering. It wasn't until a figure appeared in front of them that they finally reacted, and their pupils began to tremble. The person who appeared was Lin Ling. He had activated the last level of Pengu's original gambit. Not only was his attack and defense doubled, but his speed was also doubled. Bang! 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 Lin Ling kept punching and killing the Netherworld soldiers at the door. Finally, he came to a black stone that was as tall as a man and kicked it like a whip. Bang! The hard black stone was kicked into pieces. At the same time, the door that was turning black suddenly calmed down. The seal was stopped. You! At this moment, the Netherworld commander noticed the change behind him. His eyes widened and his face trembled. It was too fast. He did not notice the white-haired man's arrival. After all, he had planned to block the white-haired man's attack from behind. This meant that the difference in strength between him and the white-haired man was too big. Bang! Sure enough, as soon as he made a sound, his chest was pierced. Then his soul was pulled out and kept struggling. However, Lin Ling did not even look at it. He clenched his hand and the soul was crushed and absorbed by Lin Ling. As for the Netherworld commander's body, it was naturally snatched by a large number of dead souls. Lin Ling walked to the door and placed his palms on it. His power exploded. Rumble! Rumble! The thick and heavy door was slowly pushed open, and a wisp of ancient nether wind blew over, passing through the door and reaching the bodies of all the deceased souls. The area in front of the gate suddenly became quiet. Only the wind in the distance was blowing, and the yellow sand was dancing wildly. Is free. Finally, someone yelled out loud. Ugh. Following that, more and more shouts were heard, and the entire yellow sand was shaken. These dead souls all had memories. Some were gods and some were old monsters who had cultivated for many years. Therefore, they all knew that if they wanted to survive, the only way was to escape from this layer of hell. As long as the dead souls were scattered in all the hells, the Netherworld would not be able to hunt them down. They would not be able to massacre all the hells. Everyone, follow us to the other hells and release more people. Only then will we be safer. At this time, a Yaksha king appeared in front of the door. However, everyone knew that this was not a Netherworld general, but a Yaksha king whose body was possessed by a dead soul. He was Great Emperor Xuanxu. We will listen to you. Yes, you are the one who helped us regain our memories. We will listen to you. The dead souls were extremely excited. Our Lord intends to enter the next hells and destroy the prison there to release more dead souls. Do you want to come with us? Great Emperor Xuanxu shouted. Yes, we will go together. Overturn hells and create chaos in the Netherworld. All the dead souls agreed. They knew that only by releasing more dead souls could they become stronger. Rumble. At this time the huge door was pushed open. It was white inside. Lin Ling turned to look at the crowd and waved his hand. Come with me. After saying that, Lin Ling was the first to step into the huge door. Let's kill our way in. The group of dead souls followed him in with a murderous aura, disappearing into the white mist. Moreover, there were many dead souls. There were tens of billions of them. In the distance, there were even more dead souls flying over. They were densely packed. Of course, not all the dead souls entered the next hells. There were still many dead souls in this hells. On the other side, Lin Ling and the rest appeared. This hell was called the Hell of Soldiers. It was bigger and more ancient. Of course it was crueler. As long as the dead souls were caught in the hell of soldiers' prison, they would have to face trials and tribulations all day long. The hell of soldiers. Lin Ling looked ahead calmly. The scene in front of him was not a desert. Instead, it was a dark and dense forest. However, it was eerily silent. It was as if there were many monsters that devoured souls hidden in the forest. There are even more underworld gods in this hell. They cultivate with the dead souls. Lin Ling had devoured a piece of life and death stone before. He was familiar with all the hells, especially the hell of soldiers. This was the nightmare of the dead souls. Kill them. Lin Ling stepped out and walked towards the largest hell of soldiers' prison. Kill them. The dead souls behind him also shouted. In the silent forest, those underworld gods who had bad intentions were frightened. They did not understand what was going on and could only secretly escape. What's going on? Why are there so many dead souls suddenly? Could it be that they escaped from somewhere? But there are too many of them. Inform the king of hell. Otherwise, things will be troublesome. These underworld gods were all talking as they escaped. This hell of soldiers' prison was located in an abyss. This abyss was incomparably dark. From time to time, there would be painful groans that would make one's scalp tingle. Lord King of Hell in the Bloodhouse Forest area. Many dead souls suddenly appeared. In the dark abyss, a voice suddenly rang out. Why are there dead souls escaping? Send someone to investigate. An old voice replied. However, very soon, an anxious voice broke the silence of the abyss. Lord Notgood, there is news from the underworld. There are souls from other hells coming to our hell. What? Without permission, souls secretly came to our hell. How presumptuous. This is looking down on the rules of the underworld. How many souls are there? Send out Oxhead and Horseface to capture them. According to the news from the underworld, the number of dead souls that entered our hell is hard to calculate. There are at least 100 billion of them. 100 billion? Moreover, the underworld ordered us to be on full alert to prevent the dead souls from attacking our hell prison. Are they crazy? After the underworld created their own hell prison, when did the dead souls dare to attack? Isn't the hell prison a nightmare for the dead souls? They can't even escape. Chapter 50-50. Not good. But at this time another voice sounded. This anxious voice surpassed all the previous voices. What is happening now? What is going on today? Bad news comes in waves. The Yama King let out an angry voice. He was obviously impatient. The souls of the dead have come to the prison and are attacking the prison. The anxious voice finally shouted. His words caused the entire abyss to fall silent. Attack the prison. Moments later, several Yama Kings shouted in unison, as if they couldn't believe it. This level of prison was no small matter. There were many Yama Kings guarding it. Rumble. At this time a voice came from above. A dense group of souls of the dead rushed down. They were surrounding a white-haired man with a magnificent aura. All the gods of the underworld looked at the sky, especially the Yama Kings. Their pupils trembled fiercely. A thin man suddenly pointed at the white-haired man and shouted, "It's him." That year when the underworld wanted to capture Ningqingxin, that person fought against the underworld. It's him. How could it be him? What? Thatched Yama King, you know him? I'm not the only one who knows him. You all know him too. Do you still remember the person who angered the underworld god? Lin Ling? He's Lin Ling? But didn't the underworld say that Lin Ling's soul has been scattered? Quick, report to the underworld. Say that Lin Ling isn't dead and has broken through hell. The Yama Kings kept shouting. Then a great battle broke out in the abyss. It was as if the sky was falling and the earth was splitting. This level of hell was also shaking because of it. After a long time, a large number of figures rushed out from the abyss. The leading white-haired man looked into the distance and said, Grandpa Treasure God Nanwufingyu, Sakura, Young Yao, Whitewater Pure Maiden, and the others are over there. This man carried a huge nether ore in his hand and flew forward. At the same time, he was refining the nether ore and his strength was increasing crazily. Gradually, his physical strength reached 100 billion. On the man's forehead, 7 ancient stars appeared. 7-star Penga's body. The white-haired man faintly smiled. After landing on the ground, his powerful spiritual strength enveloped everyone, allowing them to recover their memories. Clearly, following the continuous plundering, Lin Ling's strength was also rising. Not only had his physical strength improved, but even his spiritual strength had also skyrocketed. His current strength had already surpassed that of the past. After all, his physical strength alone had attained a strength of 100 billion. After all, physical strength was even more formidable than divinity. Powerful king-level giant universe gods, on the other hand, only had 200 billion godly power at most. If they were to engage in a real battle, they would be on par with Lin Ling's 100 billion godly power of the fleshly body. Moreover, this was under the premise that Lin Ling hadn't used the Pangu strike. Once he used it, his physical strength would double. Lin Ling, it's you. Ha ha ha, Grandpa Treasure God, second brother Yang Yao, everyone is here. I didn't expect that we would reunite again. After a long time, he had found all his friends on this level. Many of the gods below the 4 ancient emperors were also found. Lin Ling's numbers gradually reached 50,000. However, Yu, the Yellow Emperor, and Emperor Shun were ignored. Great Emperor Jun and the others were still nowhere to be found. Most likely they weren't on this level. Of course, Lin Ling had also released countless departed souls on this level, causing chaos on this level of hell. Countless departed souls escaped with their lives. After a long time, Lin Ling began to search for the door to the next level of hell. Finally, after slaughtering a large number of underworld gods, he successfully entered the next level of hell. This level of hell was called the level of darkness. After 2 levels of hell were broken, the entire underworld was in chaos, as though it was about to collapse. Countless netherworld powerhouses had gathered together for a meeting to discuss the netherworld's great chaos that was rarely seen in billions of years. Who is breaking the laws of hell and disrupting the order of hell? Why are the laws of the underworld ineffective against him? I'm afraid this person isn't someone to be trifled with. He has the ability to evade the great laws of the underworld and infiltrated hell, disrupting the order. Now, countless souls have escaped and killed the underworld generals and Yama kings of hell. It's going to be difficult to subdue all of them. I reckon that hell will remain undisturbed for at least 10,000 years. Voices rang out, and all the kings of hell had grave expressions. The kings of hell were of even higher status than the kings of hell. There were a total of 8 of them. At this moment, their faces were dark, as though they were thinking about something. Logically speaking, how could an ordinary person disrupt hell and ignore the laws of the underworld? This meant that the culprit was extremely powerful, or had a terrifying origin that was beyond the control of hell. I just found out that the culprit is Lin Ling. All of a sudden, an old man walked in with a halo in his hand. The halo shone with multicolored light, forming images of the white-haired man slaughtering the prisoners in the hell prison. Lin Ling. At this moment, all the kings of hell stood up, and their eyes were trembling. They naturally knew about Lin Ling. It was said that this person had been opposing the underworld for a long time. He was even specifically named by the god of the underworld. If Lin Ling entered hell, he would give Lin Ling great trials and tribulations. However, before the trials and tribulations could begin, Lin Ling suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, the entire underworld was in chaos. Why is Lin Ling not dead? How did he escape from the mark of the underworld? This Lin Ling, it is said that he was incomparably powerful when he was alive. I didn't expect him to have such skills after death. Kings of hell, I think you will be mobilized. If the god of the underworld knows about this, he will be furious. It is possible that he will wash the underworld with blood. At that time, the laws of the underworld will come, and all the departed souls and deities of the underworld will be reshuffled. We will also die. Lin Ling, oh Lin Ling, you are truly formidable. Our underworld taking you in is like releasing a rabid dog in our own home. The kings of hell continued to speak. 8 kings of hell stood up at the same time, their powerful auras filling the air. Not good. Lin Ling has brought many departed souls into the underworld of Crow Dusk. He is attacking the prison there. The kings of hell are asking for help. They probably won't be able to hold on for much longer. At this time a frightened voice rang out. Then, an underworld marshal rushed in and said to the crowd. As these words fell, the hall fell into a deathly silence. An oppressive atmosphere filled the air. Bastard! One of the underworld kings slammed the table, causing the entire hall to sway. Lin Ling, how does he know the location of our prison? He seems to be familiar with the laws of the underworld. It is the life and death stone. He has devoured the life and death stone of every hell. Someone immediately gasped. Quickly! Quickly stop him! If he's allowed to run amok, then the netherworld will be turned upside down by him. Several underworld kings prepared to leave the hall and head to the underworld of Crow Dusk. Chapter 50-51. The three hells have been destroyed. When the voice drifted out, the entire hall became even more silent. Cold sweat dripped down everyone's forehead. In such a short period of time, 3 hells had been destroyed. Was this Lin Ling really a dead soul? Or did he enter the underworld with the same cultivation level as before he died? There's no time to lose. Kill him quickly. The underworld king solemnly said, knowing that this matter could not be delayed any longer. At this time, Lin Ling led everyone away from the Hell of Black Man. The entire hell prison had been destroyed by him, and his cultivation level had increased once again. Moreover, he had refined the life and death stones. So Lin Ling was more familiar with the underworld. The amount of nether ores in this hell prison was beyond imagination, allowing Lin Ling's physical strength to reach the 200 billion level. However, what shocked Lin Ling was that Panga's body was still at the 7-star level. It seemed that breaking through to the 7-star level was no longer easy. However, Lin Ling was still satisfied. After obtaining Pangu, his strength had increased by leaps and bounds. Now, his overall strength had not only surpassed that of the past, but he could also kill any king-level universe god with his full strength. He could even kill many saints. Everyone come back. Moreover, after devouring the 3 life and death stones, Lin Ling's soul power had also increased. It had reached the 3 million level. His powerful soul power spread out and returned the memories of all the dead souls he met along the way, causing the entire hell prison to be filled with wandering dead souls. Lin Ling. Ha ha, it's Lin Ling. The Yellow Emperor, Emperor Shun, and the others had been found by Lin Ling, and they were all incomparably happy. After that, Yuer Xian Yuan Gu'er, and the others were also found. Everyone come back. Lin Ling was also incomparably happy. After careful calculation, he found that there were still many souls that could not be found. There were 2 reasons for this. First, they were not in this layer of hell. Secondly, the other party had already reincarnated. This also caused Lin Ling to frown slightly. If they were not in this layer of hell, then he would have to travel through all the hells to find the remaining people. At that time, he would definitely have to face the entire underworld. Even though his current strength was very strong, he was clearly aware that it was utterly impossible for him to go against the entire netherworld by himself. Lin Ling, we have to charge out of the netherworld. Otherwise, if we stay here, we will be killed by the netherworld sooner or later. The Yellow Emperor said to Lin Ling. Even though the underworld was in chaos right now, the Yellow Emperor knew that if the underworld really attacked, all the dead souls would be suppressed. There was no way they could fight against the underworld. Disregarding everything else, just the underworld's great law alone was not something that anyone could resist. Yes. Now let's try to enter the next level of hell and save as many people as we can. Lin Ling nodded. He felt that time was of the essence. Moreover, even if he saved everyone, leaving this place was still a huge problem. After spending a lot of time, Lin Ling released all the dead souls and left this layer of hell. Among the countless dead souls released by Lin Ling, there were some that Lin Ling knew. These people came from the rainforest sacred land. When they saw Lin Ling, they were undoubtedly shocked. Back in the rainforest sacred land, Lin Ling was their legend. Who would have thought that after his death, Lin Ling would still be able to lead them against the underworld? Unfortunately, Lin Ling knew that time was of the essence, so he did not have time to greet them. After charging out of this layer of hell, they arrived at the next one. This was hell where light resided. Not only was this layer of hell larger, but it also had a large number of underworld deities. When Lin Ling and the rest appeared in this layer of hell, a large number of underworld deities were also looking at them. Among them, 4 powerful underworld kings floated in the sky, looking at each other coldly. Lin Ling, we have been waiting for you for so long. A low voice floated out. These 4 underworld kings were all comparable to a saint giant universe god. Their deity energies were incomparably terrifying, reaching the 300 billion mark. Of course, if placed in the Tao Tower, this level of strength would only be considered above average. However, this was the underworld. Any deity who entered this place would not have the strength to face a saint giant universe god. Moreover, if Lin Ling was still alive, he might not be able to win against a saint giant universe god. Underworld kings. Lin Ling had devoured the life and death stone, so he knew the origins of these 4 underworld kings. Lin Ling, it's time for your tricks to end. Are you going to surrender or let us kill you? The 4 underworld kings had different appearances and wore different armors. Some had long arms, while others had horns on their heads. With just you guys, let your underworld gods come. Lin Ling secretly informed the Yellow Emperor and the rest, telling them to prepare for a fight to the death. After all, apart from Lin Ling himself, the others on his side were very weak. Perhaps only Saint Yi was a bit stronger. The Yellow Emperor and the rest were very strong when they were alive, but they had just regained their memories, so their strength had not recovered at all. Impudent. You've stirred up hell and still dare to speak such arrogant words. Wait until we suppress you in Suffering Mountain, then you'll regret it. Living is such a painful thing. Kill. The 4 underworld kings shouted. With a wave of their arms, a large number of underworld deities behind them rushed toward Lin Ling and the rest. These deities were born and bred in the underworld. They were also from an ancient race, and there were many yakshas and underworld soldiers among them. Fight! Lin Ling shouted. His white hair danced wildly, and his physical strength erupted as he was the first to rush forward. The departed souls behind him were originally trembling with fear, but in the end, they knew that if they lost, their souls would be scattered, so they all fought with their lives on the line. Although in terms of strength, they were no match for the underworld deities, they had the advantage in numbers. Rumble! In the sky, a terrifying underworld war broke out. In a short period of time, countless departed souls fell, and countless underworld deities were killed. Blood rained down like rain, and white bones were piled up everywhere. The souls were as dense as mist. This battle was as fierce as the great war of gods and demons. It was estimated that millions of years later, no one in the underworld would forget this battle, and it would be recorded in the annals of history. Of course, what would be recorded in the annals of history was more about how the demon Lin Ling stirred up the underworld, and how he was killed by countless underworld deities in the end. Bang bang bang. Lin Ling's physical strength erupted, and 7 stars appeared on his forehead. His body grew infinitely taller, and he turned into a towering giant. Rumble! He punched out, and countless underworld deities were killed by his punch. Apart from the underworld kings, no one could stop Lin Ling. That's all you've got? Too weak. On the opposite side, a underworld king's body also grew rapidly, and he turned into a giant. His body was pitch black, as if he was condensed from black gold, and his black was dazzling. As he punched, a black hole appeared, and 81 hells also appeared, blasting toward Lin Ling. Humph, in the underworld I am the great law. You want to fight me head-on? You're courting death. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.